put that on. They like to put their feet on the back of the chair in front of them.
Well, no, I mean...
Yeah, we don't... Jerry's report, I don't see it. Oh, that's all right.
That was mine anyway.
Huh?
This was mine, huh?
Oh, probably Jerry's here anyway, so he'll give us one.
Right here, ready to start.
What's he doing there?
I don't know.
Okay, I think we're ahead.
What's that?
Oh, yeah, I ended up with a blank sheet.
Again?
Hey,
It's a conspiracy, Jim. They took it out.
People try to make
They were
you
selling the
crazier
soda, they wouldn't leave it
and
here.
slip
She
it
wanted to pay $100 a month to keep it or something like that.
where we can buy one?
Sorry.
I was gonna buy soda on the way over, then
And you said, no, I'll get it at the town
Alright,
hall.
I didn't have time though, and I said, I'll get it.
Okay.
Take it out.
Yeah,
Jeez,
so-
the month I want to use it, they take it out.
Sorry.
Well, maybe we'll have to have an informal way of doing it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Are we all set now?
I'm all set.
All set, Barb? Okay. Good evening. It's 7:02. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Barb, will you poll the council?
Here.
Officer Ridgway?
Here.
Officer Smart?
Here.
Officer Warner?
Here.
Supervisor Rhodes?
Here. Claudia, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first order of business this evening is public hearing, or I'm sorry, zone change request from Michael Hammond. The board's here to listen to your comments, not to debate the issue. I'm going to open the floor for comments. Marie?
Chairman of the zoning board, I would just like to say Michael Hammond came before us and told us that he wanted to sell his business. Apparently there's a church over there, and he bought it originally as a business, and now it's being rented out as a church, and that's an improper use in an industrial zone. So he wanted to know what he could do to rectify it in order so he could sell the building. And the zoning board suggested that he apply for a zone change. And so Mike has been dealing with this for almost 3 months now. He went to the planning board and asked for approval, and what they have held a meeting. They voted unanimously to approve this zone change, which in fact then had to go to the county planning board. It was also approved through the Oswego County Planning Board, and he is here tonight to address the public hearing that's requested by law. I would just like to say that on behalf of the zoning board, I feel that it is a good use. There's 3 businesses that are involved in the area right now, and they are a commercial use. They're not an industrial use. And the 3 parcels in question, which is a car dealership, a doctor's office, and a commercial building, which is presently being used as a church. All 3 of these people have signed a petition requesting the zone change, and we just feel that it would be a good use. Also, because if he does not get the zone change, under the present condition, none of these businesses will be able to expand. And so if they won't, all they can do is what they are now. And if we're going to encourage business in this town and expansion, then I think what we're going to have to do is change the zone to help accommodate some of these businesses. The petitioner's intentions are to have an area rezoned to the commercial. Also would bring in line with a major active neighboring use, the River Glen Plaza. I also have a letter here that was submitted on behalf of the chairman of Planning Board, Kevin Conley, and he asked me to speak on his behalf tonight. And it is the belief of the Planning Board that the success of the River Glen Plaza will spur related business to open or expand on neighboring parcels. To allow this expansion where desired, zoning designations are important since little of the neighboring parcels are zoned for retail and the business use except along Pierce Drive. The board determined that this request represented an unlisted action under seeker and resulted in no negative environmental impact. The county planning board reviewed this matter and had no objections to the request for the zone change. The planning board recommended unanimously to the town board that it grant the zone change requested by Michael Hammond. And I concur.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a big problem with that.
I know everyone knows the yard.
Oh, okay. I'm Colleen Scott. I live in Flood Drive in Volney. I have a big problem with that zone being changed. I know what happened the last time our town board rezoned some property for growth in our town. I'm sure that when you buy a piece of property, you're fully aware of what it's zoned, and if you don't know, then you should make yourself aware of that information. That was a retail store. It's an allowed, it's a use that's being used there. I have a real uncomfortable feeling about that land being rezoned commercial business. I don't trust the ideas behind it. I heard a rumor, and it's only a rumor, that it had a lot more to do with a broken sewer pipe that leads to the property. And I don't think it's a good idea. There's been other people who've asked for zone changes. They've waited a whole lot longer than 3 months. And I just don't think it's a good idea. I don't think you should do it, especially until our annexation problem is taken care of. I just don't think you should do it.
Thank you. Mike?
My name is Michael Hammond. I'm the owner of the property in question, one of the properties. First of all, I'd like to state, I have nothing to do with the annexation of that mall. And none of the 3 properties that are there, as you're all probably aware, I don't know if the audience is, this is a very isolated piece of land. There's no residences around it or anything else. It's 3 pieces of property that are isolated on the point of 481 and 57. We have no intention of, we have nothing to do with annexation. This subject keeps coming up and coming up and coming up, and I don't know what everybody's talking about. The city of Fulton, to my knowledge, can't just come and annex anything. They have to be approached by property owners. And nobody has approached them and has any intentions of approaching them. Because you're having the mall annexed, how far around that can't anybody do anything? What are the boundaries? Somebody has to clarify something. Are they a block? Are they a mile? Or are they a half mile? Are they 3 miles? Or is it just my property? As far as the sewer line, I don't know how that even came into question. That's been fixed and rectified months and months and months ago. And that had to do with the city of Fulton, nothing to do with the town of Volney because it's city water and sewer. I don't know what the lady's talking about. I have here a petition with over 100 signatures, and I'll read the petition. We, the undersigned, petition the Volney Town Board to grant Fred Rayner, who owns the Olds Pontiac GMC dealership, Michael Hammond, myself, and Dr. Paul Day a zone change on their properties from industrial to B1 business. This zone change request has been recommended by the zoning board, planning board, as well as the county planning board. I'll give you this petition. Just one other thing I'd like to say is I would like to ask all the members of the town board if, to their knowledge, this request has been approved unanimously by the Volney Zoning Board, the Volney Planning Board, and the Oswego County Planning Board. Gary Standard abstained because he was on the town planning board at the time. So he did not vote, but no, there was no dissent on any 3 boards, not one person. To your knowledge, has a zone change ever been denied? Because I've asked supervisors and officials back into the early 70s, and nobody can ever remember this happening. When you have 100% of the property owners requesting a zone change, and you have unanimous approval from the 3 boards I just mentioned, has the town board ever turned down a zone request, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
Jess, anything you can think of?
Not where all property owners have been notified involved.
Mr. Pierce?
I can't state the exact record, but there's a lot of things they have to look at the past politics of this town on why and why it might have not.
I'm only asking in your knowledge off the top of your head. Like I said, I haven't asked anybody to research anything, but I've talked to a lot of officials, past and present. Nobody can remember this ever happening. Ms. Smart?
I don't know the history behind the voting of the different boards on any of the zone changes in the town. However, there have been very few changes, so it's not a very large sample.
Okay, but you're not answering my question. To your knowledge, has this ever happened? Has a zone change ever been denied when all three boards are unanimous in approval and all...
I have no idea what the voting record on the boards were on any previous zone changes.
Well, you just heard Marie tell you what they were. I mean, if you don't think I were...
No. Previous zone.
And my question was, to your knowledge,
I answered you. I don't know the voting on any of them.
Mr. Ridgway?
To the best of my knowledge, in all the years I've been on the board, no.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to give you this petition. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Mr. Stoyer.
Yeah, there was one. Longley's. They were denied it.
They didn't have 100% of the property owners.
Well, they denied.
They didn't have 100%.
No, that isn't what he asked. He said, if everybody was in agreement, was it denied? And if that
I
was,
think there was all an agreement. Planning board, the zoning board. But I
no, the property owners were against it that lived around it. That's why it was denied.
Okay, yeah, direct your comments to the board, please.
How many zones is there?
How many zones?
Yeah. When we was fighting that, I understood that there was only residential, agricultural 1, agricultural 2, and industrial.
And commercial.
Now you're saying business?
Right. There's commercial use, there's residential 2, R2. You know, there's probably, what, half a dozen?
No,
Different
it was
zoning.
just confusing, because the way I understood it, there's only...
Well, they did create a new one. They did create
Yeah, there was a new one, a business convenience,
Thank you.
recently. That's Charlie.
Charlie Smart, Silk Road. There are several points at issue here, and it's a very constricted and narrow view to ask if property owners had been denied a zone change when they requested it. Zones exist for the good of the town as a whole. They do not exist for any one individual. That's a tentative zoning. And zoning, the question here is it in the town's best interest to rezone that area as business convenience at this time? I would have to say no. And I have a map here that I wanted to share with the board and with the people here. Now this map happens to be the real property assessment tax maps from Oswego County. Now, there are two maps here because the boundary of one map, the upper boundary is this line along Pierce Drive, and this parcel is the upper boundary of one map and is the lower boundary of the other. So they've been put together so you can see what we have here. The property here is the River Glen Wall. It has, this is the area that Whitewaters has petitioned for annexation. As you can see at this point, it is completely and totally surrounded by the town of Volney. Fulton lays its claim to contiguous property to a little section right in here across the 481 right-of-way that comes through here. This is, this strikes against the tenets by which annexation is decided. This is called Baroque annexation. This is when it distorts to a major extent the property lines of the neighboring communities. Obviously here, as an example, we have property owners who would be surrounded on three sides by the city of Fulton up here, if that were to be annexed. Down here is the area in question about the zone change that we're talking about right now. That is the area across Route 481, which is the town of Volney, contiguous to the city of Fulton, and then contiguous to the River Glen Square. Until annexation is decided definitely in the town's favor, it is not in the town's interest to allow any contiguous properties to have a zone change that would make it easier to be annexed into the city. In fact, I would say Mr. Hammond did go before the boards, and you were given the right to sell cars on that lot, and you have not been deprived of all meaningful gain from your property. And that is the tenet of zoning by which you can take the town to court, and you can win a settlement against the town. This area, if it was rezoned at all, I would say that the town should consider rezoning it open land use, and the businesses that are there now would be able to continue to exist, but only as they continue to exist. A sunset law provision should probably be put in the zoning, and if they wanted to get rid of those businesses, then it would have to go to an open land use, and that would be basically an urban buffer from the city of Fulton. Now, of course, this may not be necessary if annexation is decided in our favor. I want to show, I distributed to the audience, the people here, what this looks like if you were imposing onto a map of the town of Volney and the city of Fulton. Again, this is the city of Fulton here, this section. This is all Volney, surrounding it on this side of the river. And then you can see the River Glen Mall, kind of looks like Pac-Man trying to eat up part of the town there. And I'd like to give a copy to each member of the board. And I think that the map shows very clearly what we are dealing with at this point. And I thank you very much.
I have a question. Could you tell me where Mr. Hammond's parcel is on that map?
Sure. It would be right down in here. No, okay, which one?
I don't know, but the way you
No,
got
no.
that map set
This,
up...
no, wait a minute. These are the tax maps. These are the tax maps from the Oswego County.
It's the second parcel.
It's the second parcel, I believe, and that would be parcel 2 here. This is 481, right here. This is 57, here. 57 goes down and along here. Okay? Now, you are, in this entire section, are these parcels. These are the
It
parcels.
looks to me on that map like you've got us as big as the River Glen Square, which in fact, we're just a little tiny strip of land that's...
Wait a minute now, wait a minute.
Well, you can't see the map.
This is the city of Fulton here.
I understand that.
Okay? This is Route 57. This is where River Glen Square, not River Glen Square, this is where the apartments are.
Right.
Riverscape Apartments, right here. Right here.
Right.
And then, Mike is right in here.
No, I don't.
Sure he is.
No, wait a minute.
I'm a...
No, this is 81 right-of-way. This is right-of-way 481 here. That is where it is. Here, this is the official...
I can't...
No,
Okay.
Mine, no, these are the official tax.
Okay, you can debate
Here,
this later.
if you would like to see it, is the same map with the photographs superimposed, again, from the county. This is the upper section where Pierce Drive ends.
I have one question.
Here is the lower section.
How many acres of land is River Glen taking?
approximately 26 acres.
26 acres. My parcel land's a half acre. And
You're a half acre. First of all, you don't have the breadth. This is the area here. You are one. Dr. Day's property is here.
It's about the same size as mine.
Yes.
I mean, there's probably
Next to
3 or
that,
4 acres.
next
of
to
land.
that, and next to that is Harris.
Right.
You have, when,
There's probably 3 or 4 acres.
it tells the amount here. This is the map, by the way. This will show you Route 481 superimposed on the photograph. If you'd like to take a look at it, it's right here.
I can see that.
Okay.
I'm questioning.
Here are the buildings.
Right.
This, right here, in this section here, that's Rayner Pontiac. This is Rayner Pontiac here. This section.
Okay, I can't see where you've got it outlined.
Yeah, you know what?
It looks like it's a big piece as big as the River Glen Square, what you're pointing out there.
Well, I think
That's
what's
the
being
state
shown
road
there,
we're looking at.
Charlie, I think what you're showing there is the town of Volney in the purple. You're not really showing where Mike's property is, you're showing the whole town.
Well, you can see, his property starts here, right here.
So you
His
would
property
agree
is
it's
this
a-
one,
it's a-
this property is, this is Rayner Ford, starting here.
But
Okay?
you would agree it's a much smaller parcel of land than the River Glen
Of course
Square.
it's a smaller parcel, but Mike,
Okay.
it's the contiguous
Charlie,
section.
direct your comments to the board, please.
Well, he was asking.
Okay, I know, but we're not here to debate the issue.
Yeah. But that is basically my concern, and my concern is that at this point, and lawyers I've spoken to have said that we should not rezone any properties adjacent to the city or adjacent to the mall property until annexation was settled.
I have a question.
Yep.
Ask the board, Nick.
Okay.
Thanks, Charlie.
Nick Tormina. I'd like to know why those 3 businesses would be stupid enough to want to be annexed into Fulton to pay higher taxes.
Nobody knows that they want to be
They're
anyway.
It's exactly the point I'm trying to make. That's the point I'm trying to make. If they would have to be crazy in order to try to want to be annexed so they can pay more taxes, especially Rayner Ford, come on, get real. These are business people.
Are you done, Charlie? You done with your
I know
presentation?
somebody has questions about this because I...
Well, I don't want to get into a question-answer period, though. I'd rather just hear comments. That's what the public hearing's for. Okay? So, Mike?
Michael Hammond. Howard, as you well know, I have said from the beginning of this, we have nothing to do with the annexation. Nothing. We don't have any, we don't want to, just like Mr. Tormina just said, why would we want to be annexed into the city of Fulton? I own property in the city of Fulton. I know the tax rates are higher. Why would I want to be? I'm just trying to use a property that I've got my life savings invested in. Secondly, can't industrial property be annexed?
Sure. Any property you can get.
Then why is annexation even a question? If you can annex this property, whether it's industrial, commercial, whatever, why is it even a question? If industrial property, which I'm zoned now, can be annexed, what's the difference if I change it to commercial? If it can be annexed now, it can be annexed as commercial. My third question is,
Okay. We don't have to debate it, buddy. We'll listen to your comments.
now I lost my train of thought here. Like I said, I have never had the intent, and I've told you this from the beginning, I have no intention of being annexed. My third question is, Charlie Smart just said anything around there. Again, this keeps coming up. I want to know what around there means. Is it a block? Is it a mile? Is it 10 miles? I mean, where is the boundary? Is it just my property? Which I'm beginning to think it is. Because nobody can give me, everybody says anything around the mall because of the annexation. But nobody can give me how far around the mall. I mean, what does around the mall mean?
I don't know. We didn't say that. Charlie did, so you have to take that up with Charlie. But
That's what I'm questioning because I've heard this from several different people, around the mall. There has to be a boundary if you're going to say around the mall. How far around the mall? I've brought this up to you personally before. And like I said, if you can be annexed as an industrial zone and as a commercial zone, then I have no idea what this annexation issue is even about. That's all I have to say.
okay. Someone else had their hand up over here first. I'll get Selma.
Selma Tormina.
what the major problem is. Everything in this town lately seems to come down to the annexation issue. Unless these three businesses approach Fulton and tell Fulton they want to be annexed, Fulton just can't come in and take it over. There's 481 that's a great distance between the River Glen Mall and their property, and I think to turn these people down because of the annexation issue is very unfortunate. You know you have three businesses there. You know they're not industrial. You know that the situation is that Mr. Hammond cannot rent out to a very quiet church in that area. I mean, there's nothing detrimental about what he's doing with that property. The only thing he's trying to do is come into conformity with the town's regulations. By doing so, he came to everyone asking everyone, what should I do? They suggested a zone change. Now all of a sudden it's all blown up into annexation. And I don't think that everything in this town can be brought down to annexation. I know there's a lot of emotional people regarding the annexation issue, but everything in this town doesn't come down to whether or not Fulton is going to gobble up that Glen. And I don't think it's fair to these three residents, nor the rest of the town.
Okay. Before we go any further, I just want to say that this board hasn't made any decisions yet, so you're assuming that it's going to get voted down. I don't know that, and I don't think anybody knows that. But
By the comments made is what I meant, Howard.
okay. Bob?
Bob Miner, I live in the town of Volney. I've been out there 18 years. I drive by this piece of property every day. The church does not bother me. I pay taxes in this town for 18 years, just like everybody else in here is. I heard a lady from Flood Drive say something about this piece of property, which she probably hasn't seen 3 times in her life. I go by it every day.
What?
I don't care if this is a church, in my own personal view, or it's a car lot, or what it is. I think the man bought the property in good faith. He should be allowed to sell the property in good faith.
Thank you. Charlie?
They asked the ones around would be properties that would be contiguous to the city and contiguous to the mall. Those are the properties we'd be talking about. And as far as, yes, I understand what you're saying about being able to sell what you want, but zoning does not allow you to sell a piece of property to anybody you want to, no matter what zone you're in.
How did this piece of property get into an industrial zone?
Wait a minute.
Bob, please.
Wait a minute. Personally, as far as I'm concerned, I have no problem with churches in industrial zones anyway. So, the board may not be willing to consider it, but I would just assume the board considered making it an issue of religious freedom and allowing churches to be in any zone in the town, including industrial, which would solve the church's problem very handily.
Any other comments? Marie?
In closing, I would just like to say that, again, Mike did go before all the boards. He has gone through all the proper procedure. I hope that this town board takes that into consideration when you go to vote. There's a lot of people that just go in here in this town, they put up buildings without building permits, they never go through the procedures. He has done everything that's been required of him. And I just have to say that I'm as emotional over annexation as anyone else. But when it starts hindering people from being able to sell their property or be able to do anything with what they own, that then the city of Fulton is controlling you. You're allowing them to do that. If all of a sudden you can't make a move because somebody might annex, I don't understand where this is going to enter into that at all. I think if you're basing your decision on that, that's absolutely ridiculous. And it is he wants to work into the conforming of the town. We realize it's a good use. It is a commercial use. And I just have no idea why you'd want to turn this down, because I think it's a good move. I think it's a good move on behalf of the town. I think it works with our comprehensive plan. And as a chairman of the zoning board and in compliance with the county and the town planning board, I really hope you consider this. And please try to put this annexation issue aside on some of these issues.
Once again, you're assuming we're going to turn it down, but I don't know if that's the case.
You're turning it down. I'm just asking you, don't make your decision based on that. Make your decision based on, is it a good zone change or is it a poor zone change? Because these people in those three businesses cannot expand, they cannot do anything. And if you're supposed to be a leader that's going to promote growth in your town, I think that's one of the things that you have to look at. And it's just a shame that this mall has just caused such a creative problem for all the area businesses.
Okay. Susie?
I have got to agree wholeheartedly with Marie. After what we went through with our zoning problem a few years ago, I just think it's terrible what this poor man has been going through. And if we can put that in annexation and proper perspective and let him get on with his business, I agree that he should. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. One final comment, Colleen.
Scott, all of a sudden the expansion's coming in here. Those properties, and I go by there quite frequently.
Are they gonna be expanded?
I don't know how they're gonna expand because those properties, those businesses kind of look like they fill up their property. So I don't know how they're gonna expand. And from the beginning, when I first heard about this, I heard that it was not someone in the town of Volney who complained, so that someone started bugging Mr. Hammond about his church. I heard from the very beginning that it was someone from the city of Fulton who found out and called and complained. I have no problems with the church being there. I just have problems with how close it is to the mall and how it makes more contiguous property to the city of Fulton. I don't know how those businesses can expand. They don't have acres and acres of land, as Mr. Hammond just said. It's little pieces of property with businesses already on them. So I don't think the zoning needs to be changed. Thank you.
Okay. Now for some unfortunate news, and I already made Mr. Hammond aware of it. By law, we are supposed to notify the surrounding communities when we have public hearing for zone changes, and unfortunately that wasn't done. So what I'm going to do is leave this public hearing open, and we'll schedule another date to conclude it later this evening. And we'll notify the surrounding towns, continue the public hearing, and then we'll make our decision after that. So I will let you know when we reschedule a meeting for that purpose, and I apologize for any inconvenience that's caused.
Can you just reschedule this at next month's town board meeting?
Well, we can do that, or we can have a special meeting. I'm not sure what the board wants to do in that regard, so it'll be one of the two. It'll either be before the next town board meeting or at the next town board meeting. I'm sure Mr. Hammond would like it sooner than that, but we'll see what we can do.
I talked to Mike
The
about
next
this earlier.
town board meeting tonight.
Okay.
We've got enough funds.
Yeah, we're working on budgets right now, and it would be difficult to squeeze one in before then. So if you're
That's okay with you?
okay, okay, then we'll do that later this evening, scheduled for next month again. Once again, I apologize, and with that, I'd like to move to leave this meeting open and reschedule for our next. Well, we'll do it now. We'll reschedule for our next town board meeting, which is November 8th, I believe. 10th. Okay, November 10th. And I hear a second on that.
Second.
Barb, will you poll the council?
Councilor Pierce?
Aye.
Councilor Ridgway?
Aye.
Councilor Smart?
Aye.
Councilor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rose?
Aye. Okay, our next order of business is public hearing number 2, consideration of the EDZ proposal. Let the record show that the same board members are in attendance, Barb. And what this is, it's a local law. I'll read it. A local law authorizing the supervisor of the town of Volney to execute the appropriate application to the state of New York for establishment of the Fulton Economic Development Zone with the town of Volney and the city of Fulton. Be it enacted by the town of Volney Town Council as follows. The town of Volney Town Council hereby finds it appropriate that the Fulton Economic Development Zone be established in portions of the town of Volney and the city of Fulton. The town of Volney hereby authorizes the supervisor of the town of Volney to make application to the state of New York for establishment of the said Fulton Economic Development Zone as set forth in Exhibit A attached hereto. The Economic Development Zone Board shall consist of the following. 1, Mayor, City of Fulton. 2, Chairman of the Oswego County Legislature. 3, Supervisor, Town of Volney. 4, President of Oswego County Operation Oswego County. 5, representatives from education. 6, labor union official. 7, representative from private industry council. 8, resident of the EDZ. 9, banking financial official. 10, representative from zone business. 11, representative from zone industry. And 12, representative from service provider. The Chamberlain of the City of Fulton is hereby designated as a zone certifier. The official responsible for certifying with the State Commissioner of Economic and Development and Labor and the eligibility of business enterprises for the various benefits available through state law creating the zone. I'm going to open the floor. To preface this, before I take any comments, I'd just like to explain a little bit why this came about. As everyone knows, there's been a lot of controversy about this issue, and the town board took a stand against EDZ back in February for various reasons, among them philosophical reasons. Of late, with so much rumbling still about the situation, I decided to invite state EDZ people from Albany here to talk to not only my board and myself, but invited industry officials. And we had a meeting for a few hours a few weeks ago just to find out more information and hear what the industries had to say, because up until now we really haven't heard what they had to say about it except what we read in the paper. And we wanted to hear it firsthand and discuss it with them. So we had a very good meeting, and when the meeting was finished, I asked the town board if they were interested in doing anything else with this or leave it the way it was, and they were interested in having this meeting to discuss the possibility of joining in. For whatever reasons those are, they're all different, I'm sure. But I think the bottom line here is that we feel at this point that this issue is something that needed to be looked at closer, and that even though you do have some personal feelings about it, philosophical feelings about it, that if it is the best thing for the community, then maybe it's the best thing to do. And that's where we're at this point. And so we're here to hear your comments tonight on it again. So I'm going to open the floor to public comment at this time. Colleen.
I just want you to know that now that I found out the true picture and what was really going on and how much control Volney will have over this, then I have no problem with the town board voting for this. I think if people have been honest with us in the first place and let our town board know things about it that we should have been told in the first place, then the man from Reynolds here wouldn't have been worried all this time, and he wouldn't have waited this long to become involved in it. So I think that the town board should become involved in this because we want Reynolds to feel at home, and we want them to know that their hometown is Volney, and we want them to stay, and we want them to prosper, and we want them in our town. But I do have a big problem with the way we were informed about this in the first place. And I think there's some people that need to take responsibility for that. And they've made you guys out the bad guys, and you're not the bad guys. Because the way that this was presented to us before, it made it sound like we had no say in anything. And when you think of a three-member board with Howard, Frank Church, and Don Bullard on it, you think, well, 2 to 1, you know? Well, come to find out, it's not 2 to 1. Each one of those people has a veto power, and if they don't like a situation, then it isn't going to happen. So I just think you should do it and help Reynolds all you can so that they'll stay here a long time. Thank you.
Thank you.
One question. The material that you read is not exactly what I have. Did we get copies of study
It should be in the resolution packet that you got tonight.
Oh, tonight's thing?
Right.
I just...
Resolution 94-185 I've got on mine.
Yeah. Oh, did you pass them along?
Oh, I thought these were all mine, sorry.
You should share, Howard.
Okay. Sorry about that.
We're right, Jim. We didn't have copies.
Okay.
I can find it. You must have them all up there, Howard.
No, I've only got two more. I've got one extra if you want it. Okay. Just to clarify something, Colleen, that you said, it's true, there are 3, Don Bullard, myself, and Frank Church would be on that zone board. But I found out today that unless it's in the bylaws, there is no veto power, so to speak. And in other words, it doesn't need to be unanimous, but there are some checks and balances here in that, something isn't going to happen in our town unless it's gone before our planning and zoning board and meets the criteria set forth there, things like that. So it's not like the city of Fulton can say, okay, we want this polluting industry to come into the town of Volney, and and Frank Church and Don Bullard are going to approve that. That's not how it happens.
Maybe I said it the wrong way. What I meant was before I was really nervous because I felt that Volney could be outvoted at times. In the past, the way it was presented to us. Now I know that there are some checks and balances there, and
Right.
things can't happen against our wishes.
Right, that was a major concern early on, but we've had that clarified by the state.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
I said, Maybe I said it the wrong way.
Well, I didn't want you to
That's
think
what
we
I
could
meant.
veto things, because we can't veto anything. There's no one that can veto anything. Okay? Charlie?
Don't we have to approve of any zones set up in our town? And doesn't it have to be agreed to by us, or it cannot be done?
That's part of the local law that right.
I don't want veto power over Fulton, never did. As long as it's property within the Fulton city limits. However, I do not want Fulton or the city of or the county of Oswego to be able to tell us where we have to have an economic development zone centered and who can and can't be included within the town limits. Also, I think a lot of these things could have been avoided to begin with had Volney been asked to participate in setting up the economic development zone from the very beginning. We were brought in only at the last moment, and when we got a copy of the EDZ application, we figured very, very prominently in every part of that application. And that's not proper for the CDA or for the county to have done that without consulting Volney first. And that's the problem. But I feel that the zone has great possibilities for all of our industry. I think we should try to do everything we can for our existing industry to encourage their growth, development, and further expansion. And I certainly, under the circumstances, would also urge that you vote in favor of the EDZ.
Again, for clarification, Exhibit A, if you have it, it's attached to this local law, lays out the boundaries of the EDZ, which is something that we would be approving when we vote on the local law. Anyone?
The only thing I got is, you said the map was redone where it does include zinc and CCA.
Right. The town clerk has the only colored copy of the map that really shows the boundaries, and if anyone cares to see it after the meeting, I'm sure Barb would be willing to get it and show. I have it? No, I put it back in the drawer yesterday. I didn't? Okay. She may not have it. I may have it. In any case, we have a map that we can show you that will show the exact boundaries.
Well, I was saying, it doesn't say it in here that the CCA is an EDZ.
These boundaries, to be sure that they're including those areas that...
The map that I saw included the Reynolds Metals property, the Miller Brewing property, Container Corporation property, Jefferson Smurfit. I think zinc manufacturing was in there too, wasn't it, Barb? Do you remember that? I believe zinc manufacturing was in there. And that was the extent of it, I think.
Armstrong expressed...
No, they didn't put Armstrong in there for two reasons. One, they'd be an island, and they were afraid of stretching out too far without knowing from them whether or not they wanted to participate. I called Armstrong and let them know that I needed a letter from them indicating to me what their plans were, how they would want to go about getting into EDZ and benefiting from it, what they plan to do with it to take advantage of it. And I told them I needed that to include them, but I haven't received anything from them yet. That isn't to say that they're going to be excluded entirely, because these things can be amended if they come up with something where they can benefit and we want to include them. That can be changed later on. That's my understanding anyway. Andy? Yeah.
Are they included in the...
No, actually, when we had the meeting with Owens, they were more concerned about getting Reynolds and Miller's property involved, and they weren't looking to do anything right now anyway, from what they indicated to us. So it wouldn't make sense to include them right now, because you have to act within 2 years of getting on board, I think, is what I was told. And if you weren't going to be doing anything within the 2-year period, it's better to leave you out of it until such time as you're ready. That's the way it was explained to me. So, Charlie?
Do we have left at this point that could still be used for new or existing industry?
I'm not really sure. I know they're getting very close to the quota on what they could include, but it's really the city of Fulton's EDZ, and they're giving us what they can, and if they can afford to give us more, I'm sure they will. That's the way I understand it. You know, they've already designated their areas, and it can only encompass 2 square miles totally anyway. And I think they're either maxed out or pretty close to it now, is what they told me. Colleen?
I was going to ask another question, but if I remember correctly, when they did these borders before, they were leaving, what was it, something like 250 acres to be assigned later? How come all of a sudden, you know, I mean, I was all for this, but now you're sitting over saying it's Fulton's economic development zone. I mean, why is this language all of a sudden creeping back in?
No, it is their economic development. We don't qualify as a town to... No, we don't. The state doesn't...
We could have applied for our own.
No,
Yes,
we couldn't.
we could have.
No, I'm afraid you're wrong. You're wrong,
With
Colleen.
the wording out of there. But, you know, why all of a sudden is it, are you talking like that, Howard? Because
I'm talking like it is, Colleen. It's the City of Fulton's economic development zone. We're going to become part of it. Okay, it's not going to be our zone, per se.
well, if you read the economic development zone application, every other word is Millers, Millers, Millers.
Well, that was a big concern with them. They wanted to include that property to make it marketable. That's what it was all about.
I know it's a big concern there, but it's in the town of Volney. But the question I had originally, Howard, is, are you guys going to just approve this here? I'd like to see some different names on this little list here.
You're talking about the zone board?
Yeah.
Okay, the zone board was already in place. If we had gotten involved back in February, we would have had more of a say in that zone board. As a matter of fact, I did have a say in it because there was a different zone board set up then before we voted not to get involved. Since we didn't get involved, they had to put a zone board in place, and this is it. Now, they can't very well tell them to pack their bags and go home. They're already involved, you know.
How much involvement is Volney going to have in this then, Howard? Just you?
Well, like I said, the checks and balances lie with our zoning and our planning boards and our own local controls over our properties, okay?
The zone board doesn't do what everybody thinks it does. There was a misconception on that. The local people, it's more of a paperwork function. The actual approvals of who is going to get benefits and exactly what they are is done by the state. And as far as what projects can go forward, whether or not it meets the economic goals of the area is decided by the municipality in which it exists. So this zone board is it's a real nice title to have, but it's not as powerful a position as it sounds. Some things sound like they're a very all-encompassing position, and they aren't. Other things sound like they aren't a very big job, and it's a very powerful position. So that just happens to be one that sounds like it has more to do with it than it does.
Because the way I understood, I thought we were going into this as, you know, a partnership. I didn't know we were going into a dictatorship here.
Well, it's not a dictatorship. You know, a dictatorship is total control. There's no total control here by anybody.
Well, I just wondered because, you know, if we're being looked upon as equal partners, that's fine. But, you know, I don't like this, well, it's Fulton's and Fulton's done this and Fulton's done that, you know. If they want to be, you know, have this be a partnership, then fine. But, you know, that we have to do everything because Fulton said it.
Thank you. Marie?
Again here tonight on this EDZ, I too would like to concur that I hope that you support this EDZ. I think from the beginning, I know there was some misunderstanding, there was some confusion, but if you look at the whole picture, it really is a good thing for the entire community. And as far as the city of Fulton, I think that the town of Volney has to understand if they thrive, then we're going to thrive. We have a lot of services that we use in Fulton. Our children go to school in Fulton. You know, we're not an island out here, and I hope that the town of Volney and the city of Fulton can work this out. And the way you're going to do it is by sitting on boards together. And I think the EDZ has been recognized by the governor of the state. There's been a lot of diplomats in here, and when I work in Syracuse, I had people come up to me all the time saying to me, oh, you're getting an EDZ in your area. Boy, that you're really lucky. That's really nice. And they think, you know, that we're very fortunate to be able to receive this. I'm sure the city of Syracuse would like to have something like this, too. So I do hope that you support it. Well, not the entire city. There's some places that I've talked, and that's different parts of the city, not the entire city. But Well, there is people that are supportive. The people I've talked to, I go to grocery stores, and they come up to me and just say, isn't there something that can be done so we support this EDZ? Will the town board change their mind? I called you numerous times, Howard, and told you how people have come up to me repeatedly. And I know a lot of people don't come to town board meetings and express their opinions, but they do express them to the grocery stores and to the shops in Fulton. And I think it's a good thing, and I commend you for changing your mind and changing your position after reviewing the information and at least considering it.
Thank you. Bob?
Howard, I talked to you once before originally on ED,
Mhm.
so we had a conversation on the phone about it. And if there was misunderstanding, and if that's all straightened out, now, I think the board ought to, let's get together and get this thing straightened out and vote on this thing and get it passed so it can do some good for the Miller property, the Reynolds property, any property that can be reopened and bring jobs in this town is drastically needed.
Thank you. Anybody else? Charlie?
Yeah, and I too think it's entirely appropriate at this time that the EDZ be enacted. And again, it may be labeled Fulton EDZ, but it's very important that everyone understand that this is not a City of Fulton project. This is in Oswego County, Fulton, and will be Oswego County, Fulton, Volney project. Partners, not subservient. We, you know, if the case were that we could be dictated to, then it would be wrong and we should avoid it. But since the case is that the determination within our own borders is by our boards, then I think it's appropriate and it's important to help our industry.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Move to adjourn the public hearing?
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Barbie, poll the council.
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rhodes?
Aye. Okay, I move to open the regularly scheduled meeting. Hear a second?
I'll second.
Let the record show, Barb, that the same people on the board are in attendance. Okay, first order of business is approval of the September 8th, 1994 regular town board meeting minutes, resolution 94-177. Move that the minutes of the September 8th, 1994 regular town board meeting having been distributed be approved without reading. I'll move it.
Second.
Barbie, poll the council.
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rhodes?
Aye. Resolution 94-178, move that the minutes of the September 24th, 1994 special town board meeting having been distributed be approved without reading. I'll move it.
Second.
Barbie, poll the council.
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rhodes?
Aye. Resolution 94-179, move that the minutes of the October 4th, 1994 special town board meeting having been distributed be approved without reading. I'll move it.
Second it.
Barbie, poll the council.
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
I would abstain because I was not present at the meeting.
Okay.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rhodes?
Aye. Okay, now we have a number of resolutions here involving transferring of funds and so on because our money situation is getting such where we got to juggle things around here. We're fortunate to have the auditor here today to help us with this, and so bear with us while we get through this. Resolution 94-180. Would someone like to move that?
Move that the supervisor be authorized to make the following transfers. Transfer $3,299.48 from unallocated insurance special items account A1910.1 to the following account numbers and the amounts listed. A1220.4 supervisor, $64.61. A1420.4 attorney, and CNS engineer, $2,837.48. A1470.4, Board of Ethics, $170.30. A1660.4, Central Storeroom, $97.70. A9050.8, Unemployment, $129.39, for a total of $3,299.48.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Barb, will you poll the council?
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rhodes?
Aye. Resolution 94-181, would someone like to move that?
Move that the vouchers numbers 215 through 240 in the amount of $55,582.94 Highway Fund, and vouchers numbers 363 to 402 in the amount of $24,841.44 General Fund, having been audited, be approved, and the supervisors be authorized to pay from said accounts.
Is there a second? Okay. Jesse seconded it. Barbie, poll the council.
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rhodes?
Aye. Okay, I'm going to read this one. Resolution 94-182, whereas in 1991 the town established a park fund and pursuant to local law number 2 were authorized to collect funds in 1992 and 93 which totaled $4,700. And in 1993 the account number A7140.4 was erroneously closed out to the fund balance. Therefore be it resolved that the supervisor be authorized to transfer $4,700 from account number A909 general fund to account TA 37, which is a trust and agency account. Would someone like to move that?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion from the board? Does everyone understand what this is? Okay. Barbie, poll the council, please.
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rhodes?
Aye. Resolution 94-183. Move to authorize the supervisor to transfer $4,700 from account TA 37 to account A7140.4 Playgrounds and Recreation. Would someone like to move that?
I'll move it.
Second.
I'll second it.
Barbie, poll the council.
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rhodes?
Aye. Resolution 94-184. Move that the supervisor be authorized to make the following transfers. Transfer $5,574.48 from unallocated insurance special items account A1910.1 to the following account numbers and the amounts listed. A1220.4 supervisor, 6461. A1420.4 attorneys, $2,837.48. A1470.4 Board of Ethics, $170.30. A1660.4 Central Storeroom, $97.70. A9050.8 Unemployment, $129.39.
Something's wrong, Howard.
What's that?
We just doubled these.
Because if you look at 94-180, the supervisor
6461.
and
No,
the attorneys
180,
and the Board of Ethics and Central Storeroom were already done along with unemployment in 94-180, and the only new one is playgrounds and recreation.
For 2275.
Right.
You're right. They got it in the wrong. They doubled it here somehow.
They doubled it.
Okay. Do you follow that, Barb? Do you see where that is? Okay. What we'll do. It's obviously a typo, and they got two of them in here at once. We'll just scratch the resolution number, and we'll apply that to the next resolution, so we'll bump them all back a number. Okay. Never mind. Okay, let's see, 184.
I don't know what happened here.
What about the playgrounds and recreation?
Where's 185?
Well,
There's
if
a
you,
2275 from playground and recreation. What do you think
Okay.
about that?
Now, we got another problem here. It says payment of bills is Resolution 185, and my Resolution 185 is a local law number 7. Let's see here.
Payment of bills is 181.
No, payment.
Yeah, 181 was payment of bills.
181 is the payment of bills, but we crossed it out and put 185 on mine, someone did.
Okay. Let's just ignore the agenda sheet, because that's the one that's messing us up right now. All the other resolutions are correct, but that number 6 and 7 on the agenda sheet is wrong, so we'll just go by that. And Resolution 94-184 will become...
Why can't it stay where it is and just cross out everything but the playground?
The playground's the only one that you need, isn't it?
That'd be the only other transfer you haven't done.
Because you didn't do the playground transfer.
Which number is that?
The last one, that's
83?
84.
It's listed in the 184, the last one.
Oh, I see. They didn't have it on the sheet there. Okay.
Right.
Okay, I got you. Okay, let's do it that way. Okay, Resolution 94-184, move that the supervisor be authorized to make the following transfers, and that, I'm not sure if that's coming out of that unallocated insurance, though, so I don't know if we can do that.
That was why we put the 4,700. Oh, I see what
We didn't put it into unallocated insurance, though. It was going to come out of,
Well, this is,
But we needed
Can I-
$7,000 on it.
well, yeah, but
tonight the bookkeeper called me.
oh, you're right, you're right. You're
when
right.
She couldn't reach you and asked about this, and I told her, see, they couldn't reach you, go ahead and take this out of the unallocated insurance.
Okay. I'll allow that since you're my deputy. Okay.
Because you need the 2275 from unallocated insurance.
Right,
Right, so
right.
let's just change the
Okay.
transfer amount to match the playground.
Okay, Barb, it's going to read Resolution 94-184, move that the supervisor be authorized to make the following transfers. Transfer $2,275 from unallocated insurance, special items account A1910.1 to A7140.4, playgrounds and recreation, in the amount of $2,275. Right?
Right.
Okay. Got that, Barb? Okay. So that's been corrected, and that will remain as 94-184. Would someone like to move that?
I'll move it.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Barb, you poll the council.
Mr. Pierce?
Aye.
Mr. Ridgway?
Aye.
Mr. Smart?
Aye.
Mr. Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Miller?
Aye. Next order of business is communications. Under communications, I have a few items here. First of all, I had a excuse me, yes. Yeah, we do. It's a resolution, local law.
That's the one in the...
185.
That's on 8.5 by 11.
It's all by itself.
Okay?
It's in a separate package.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of them on that package.
Yeah, there's more than one on there. The resolutions that we have for discussion are on one separate thing, and the one that isn't open to discussion is the other. Yeah, we don't do that till towards the end of the meeting. We're not in that sequence yet to do that.
This is just,
Okay. Okay, I had some discussion with Niagara Mohawk this past week concerning the traffic signal light for the Volney Elementary School, and in doing so, I learned some other things about the street lighting in the town, because part of my reason for being there was to discuss getting a street light on the corner of Baldwin and Route 3, which was requested earlier this year, to find out the costs and so on associated with that. And I was informed that presently we have mercury vapor lights on all our street lights in the town, which are more costly to operate, and they suggested switching them over to high-pressure sodium. And when I asked how much that would be, they said nothing. They'll do it no charge to the town, and it'll realize a savings of about $500 a year in energy costs. So naturally, we're going to approve that tonight. And also, the light on the corner of Baldwin Road and Route 3, the annual cost for the lighting on that is $131. And since there's only a couple months left in the year, and this probably won't get put in right away, we can budget for this for next year, so we'll probably approve getting that put in too. So I received a letter on those nice figures today. Also from Oswego County Planning, one of the recent changes in New York State planning law is designed to permit some streamlining of the 239 review process, which requires that certain local planning and zoning actions be submitted for County Planning Board review. Under the amendment to state law, copy enclosed, the County Planning Board and a municipality may mutually agree to exempt certain types of actions from the County Planning Board review if they do not have countywide or inter-community impacts. The County Planning Board has considered this option and developed the enclosed agreement for your consideration. We think this agreement will help expedite the review process for minor zoning matters and avoid any unnecessary delays. I have also enclosed a copy of the County Planning Board Statement of Policy, which will be used to determine which items can be returned without the necessity of a full County Planning Board review. So that's one of our resolutions tonight to address that. Also, I received a letter from Captain Howard Allen from the City of Fulton. Please prepare a proposed resolution to the Town of Volney Board seeking an agreement between Volney and the City of Fulton to shelter Fulton's dogs. The following included: 1, the city and town enter into an agreement whereby the town would provide their shelter to the city for an annual cost of $4,000. The city will provide food for its own animals. 2, the town would have preference in the use of the shelter. If the unlikely situation of the shelter becoming overcrowded occurs, then the city will make other arrangements for their dogs until room becomes available to them again. The city picks up an average of 100 dogs per year. 3, it would be the responsibility of the Fulton Dog Control Officer to handle all Fulton animals. The town is responsible for boarding only. 4, the city would provide all transportation of its own dogs. The city would be responsible for the euthanization of any medical expenses for Fulton dogs. 6, the city will be allowed access to the Volney shelter for the purpose of placing or removal of its dogs. 7, the city would provide any and all required paperwork pertaining to dogs placed in the shelter to the town. 8, this agreement becomes effective immediately upon approval of the Volney Town Board and the City of Fulton Common Council. I just received this letter late last evening, and I have a resolution to present to the board tonight in regard to that.
I thought we were going to address that in the budget process and discussed it with dog control before we made any action on this.
It was brought up as an idea Tuesday night by our dog control officer, and I talked to him later, and he expressed a desire to do it as soon as we could. If you don't want to approve it now, we can, table it or vote it down, one of the two, but the City of Fulton is in dire need of a place to do this.
Well, I think we need to look at...
Well, we'll discuss this when we get to the resolutions, okay? This is just a letter that I'm reading right now. When we get to the resolution, we'll open it for discussion. Okay. Okay, that's all I have for communications. Committee reports, assessors. I don't know if is there anything, Claudia, from the assessors? Anything current that we can mention, or nothing going on right now?
They're just doing regular things now. There's nothing extra.
Okay. Planning Board, Bill, do you have a report for...
The Planning Board report for 10/13/94. The last meeting of the Town Planning Board was held on Tuesday, September 20th at 7 p.m. Present at the meeting were Chairman Connolly, Gary Standard, Shirley Vincent, and Tom Tomino. Gary Richardson was absent. After approval of previous minutes, meeting minutes, discussion of upcoming seminars, and handing out of information packets, the board moved on to present business. The board reviewed several applications for subdivision approval. George Head Tap was granted subdivision approval for a one-lot subdivision for the property they own on County Route 45. It is intention to give this parcel to his son for residential development. John Morris plans to buy property from Mr. and Mrs. Loomis on Raleigh Road. At this time, a final decision has not been made on the subdivision request by Mr. and Mrs. Loomis because of concerns the board has regarding the piecemeal division and sale of property by the family. The board has given this matter further review and is hoping to receive a better idea of the ultimate plans the Loomis family have for the property in this area. The board reviewed a request by Mr. Albert Haw for subdivision approval for a one-lot subdivision located on Diskin Road. Mr. Haw has approximately 29 acres, of which he would like to sell 2 acres to his daughter for residential development. The board tabled this matter until they had a chance to look at the parcel. There was some discussion regarding the issuance of a building permit prior to the applicant receiving subdivision approval. Steps were discussed that would reduce this problem in the future. Since that time is understood, the code enforcement officer has incorporated a question regarding whether subdivision approval is needed in the building permit application form. The board reviewed a request by Judith Wilkins to subdivide 45.5 acres located on County Route 45 into 5 lots that were divided up between the family members. It was determined that this is an unlisted action under SECA. Further review will be conducted. Joseph Teacher spoke to the board regarding his establishment, our place located on Old Route 57 in Minetto. There was questions regarding his reopening and remodeling of a kitchen on the premises. This work may have been done without receiving proper permits and presenting adequate information to the code enforcement officer. At this time, it appears that this is not a matter requiring planning board review. There has also been discussion regarding the handling of non-conforming uses that are abandoned or destroyed. Further material regarding this has been presented to the town board for discussion at future zoning update meetings. It should be noted that the board has at present vacancy and encourages interested residents to consider applying for this position to the town board. It should also be noted that the board is in need of someone to take and compile minutes. Such a position could be ideal for a retired resident or a young person with typing and or computer skills who is interested in town events and would like to earn extra income. Interested people should contact Kevin Connolly or town clerk for more information. The next meeting of the planning board will be held on Tuesday, October 18th at 7 p.m. Due to a class of Sunday, I figure I'm unable to attend this town board meeting. Kevin Connolly, Chairman.
Thank you, Bill. Zoning board, Marie?
Yes, at the October 5th meeting, we scheduled 2 public hearings in order to assist Mr. Sullivan in applying for a variance on Maple Ave. He was given for approval for his application for an area variance, and he has now constructed, I guess it's a garage and a bedroom, entire attachment to his home. The other public hearing was scheduled for the Devil's Brew. It was an application by Mr. Tetro. However, Mr. Tetro didn't appear before the board. His wife was there, and what she asked is that they could postpone the hearing until next month, and it will be at our November meeting that we will hear comments at that time if anyone wants to comment regarding the Devil's Brew. As I stated at the last month's meeting, what he wants to do is expand his business so it can he can sell pizzas and have a pizza shop inside the bar. He was concerned because he didn't have a lot of information to present to the board, and until he gets that information, we couldn't take any action. I do have a question, Barb. Did Mr. Tetro come in and pay the application fee? Do you know if he did come in and pay it? That was only a concern. And I'd just like to say that also last month, Howard and Cindy Talbot, the building inspector, and myself, we attended a teleconference that was held at Environmental Science and Forestry up on campus. And what it was like a town meeting through the Association of Towns. And they do it via satellite. And it was very interesting because you not only heard the different zoning and planning questions and they were able to give answers, you could also call on the phone with your questions in and they would answer your questions right on the screen. And we could hear questions from people from all over the state. And it was really like being at the Association of Towns and like being in a room. And it was very interesting, and I would suggest that if anybody gets a chance to, on the boards to attend one of these teleconferences, it's very interesting. And the information that come out of there, I think, Howard can attest that it was very useful. And they can also send you information. They provide us with a packet of information, and it was very useful. And as far as one of the requirements, I think that would be something that the town might want to look into. People that have to attend school is really interesting.
Barb Foster and I also attended. We had registered at the Auburn location before they opened up the one in Syracuse. But from now on, it's going to be even more convenient because now... Yeah, right. So now we'll only have to go as far as Mexico, so that'll be much easier.
But it's really very informative if anyone has any questions on zoning and planning, and to be able to pick up the phone and call in, it was really kind of neat. So I would suggest anybody take advantage if they could. Thanks.
Thank you. Code enforcement?
Good one, too.
Okay, Bill.
October 13th, Volney Town Board attached to a copy of the September activity report for code enforcement of Town of Volney. 20 building permits were issued and $4,377.40 was collected in fees. 47 construction inspections were performed and 2 complaint follow-ups. A building permit is issued for a 1-year period and is the responsibility of the permit applicant to contact the code enforcement office for inspections and closures of all permits. Office hours for the code enforcement hours are 6 to 8 p.m. on Tuesday evening at 9 to 11 a.m. on Thursdays unless otherwise posted. Cindy Torbert is usually in the office every workday at 9 a.m., but it is always a good idea to call first to be certain someone is in the office. Appointments can be made for reasonable times by contacting the code enforcement office. Building permit applications are available from the town clerk during regular office hours. Completed applications may be mailed to the town hall or left to the town clerk. A review of the application is necessary. However, most permits will be issued within 2 days of receipt of a complete application. Commercial, industrial, or permits requiring review by the Zoning Board of Appeals and/or Planning Board will most likely take at least a month for necessary review. It is my intention to expedite all permit applications. It is also my responsibility to perform accurate review of all applications. 2 changes to normal office hours are as follows. No office hours October 20th will be in October 19th and 21st instead. No office hours November 10th will be in November 9th. For activity, building permits issued with 3 for homes, 1 for mobile home addition, 2 for accessory buildings, 2 garages, 4 septic tanks, 1 pool, 3 decks, 3 commercial, 1 industrial, 1 miscellaneous for $4,277.40. 6 certificate of occupancy fees and certificate of compliance for stove with chimney, and 3 certificates for septic and conditional certificates of occupancy. Inspections, 47 construction inspections and fire safety inspections, and 2 complaint files up. Cynthia Topit, Code Enforcement Officer.
Thank you, Bill. Dog control, Jerry?
We picked up 60 dogs. Well, not 60 dogs, we had 60 calls. We picked up 6 dogs. We adopted out 6 dogs. 2 dogs were reported lost. 2 dogs were redeemed. We're down to 0 dogs for 2 days now. It's the first time since I've taken over in January. We had a cement gutter put in, and that's completed, where we flush out the outside kennels. They can go right in the gutter and down in the septic. The rain gutters have been cleaned, and we got downspouts down that were put up yesterday. So they're taken care of. The only other thing is I got to say is any stray dogs picked up without a dog license on them, we keep the dogs 5 days and then we adopt. The 7, 8 days and the dog is adopted out, then the owner calls for it. You cannot get a dog back unless the person that adopted is willing to give it back. 90% of the time he will not give the dog back. So if your dog is missing or something, don't wait 10 days to call the dog warden. Call him up immediately. After 6, 7 days, the dog is gone. You will not get it back.
Thank you, Jerry. Highway.
I got it.
Yes.
Superintendent's report, September 94. 9 days road maintenance, 8 days paving, 8 days machine maintenance, 10 days mowing, 2 days hauling field apart, 4 days hauling sand. Wages for September, $19,703.69. Material and maintenance supplies, $55,582.94, for a total of $75,286.63.
Thank you, Jess. Recreation, Sue?
Last Monday, we had 66 children attend the hayride to Pumpkin Farm. And I'd like to thank all the parents who were able to come and join us and stay with the kids. Our upcoming events are October 14th, that's tomorrow night, and October 21st is next Friday. We have country line dancing here at the Town Hall from 7 to 9. November 11th, that's a Friday. There's no school that day. We're going to visit Plainville Turkey Farm. The bus is going to leave here at the Town Hall at 12:15, and we should return around 2:15 or so. November 19th, Saturday, we have open bowling at Lakeview Lane. Children will be able to bowl 2 free games from 1 to 3.
While we're on recreation, I may add that the drainage that we hired to be put in at the park has been completed, and it's graded off now, and if you want to drive by just to see what it's starting to shape up as, I think you'll be impressed as where we're at now. Hopefully we'll get some seed in this fall, and possibly the basketball and the volleyball courts situated for next spring. And maybe by next fall or the following year, the ball fields will be ready to play on. So Just wanted to share that with everyone. Any other committee reports?
I don't know where the historian's reports should go.
You know, we've never done that in the past that I know of, but if you want to give one, you're welcome to.
Well, I would really like to share something that's come up since I've been doing this.
Okay.
I've had several phone calls asking about information of families in the area and family histories. I've met with several over here at the office, and we've looked through, and I can see a big need for a family history and genealogy file. And the ones that have been here are more than willing to learn their history, stories of their family, and genealogy files with me. I told them that I thought it fell within my power to make copies of them so that it wasn't their expense to have in our own file. And what I would like to do is initiate a new register and have people sign in as they come, leave their phone and address, or if they would rather not have a legal phone number, at least an address so that I could reach them, and the family names that they know about that we could cross-reference so that the next person that comes would have that information available to them and have someone's name that was also interested in these families and tie some of the histories together. And everyone is very enthusiastic about it, and so this is one of the things that I'm working on. I think this is a good time to thank Terry Reynolds. Also, we have many, many of the glass negatives in the office, and we've still got 4 or 5 boxes there, right, Terry? But we have put on videotape copies of these negatives, and then he can freeze frame his equipment and make pictures. If someone finds that one of these has to do with a class at high school that they were in, or family pictures, there's everything, weddings, family holiday times. So there's been some work going on. I haven't been too noisy about it, but I thought maybe this would be a good time to let more people know via the TV that if they have these kind of records at home and are willing to share them, we don't want to take the records away from them, just borrow them long enough to get a copy for us.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that with us, and I think it's a good idea, and if you're asking permission to use the copy, I don't think anyone's going to object to that. Okay, and we thank Terry for videotaping too. And in the future, if you had any comments, you can fall into that others category anytime. Okay. Next order of business, old business. Does anyone on the board have any old business? No? Okay, no old business. We'll move on to resolutions and discussion. Okay, our first resolution tonight is 94-185. Move to accept local law 7 as stated below to replace the proposed local law number 2, which was not accepted by the board. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, I've already read this earlier in the public hearing notice, so I won't read it again. We have a second for discussion. Any discussion on the board on this?
I second for discussion.
Okay, well, Jim already seconded it, but we'll start discussing with you, Bill, if you like.
You moved it? You moved it? You moved it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who moved
Yeah, I moved it.
Good.
Go ahead.
Now, do I take the easiest way out? Let's set the emotions aside for a while and think about what we've seen and what we've learned from the past 30 years. Are we going to be part of the problem or part of the solution? We must remember that most of these supporters are either administrators or have benefited from these programs. If these programs are discontinued, they might have to go find one of these so-called good-paying jobs. We must remember that someone has to pay for these programs. The bottom line is the people that can least afford to have to. One item always pushed is going to give you a steady tax base. But if payment in lieu of taxes are given and these associations get the bulk share, you ask yourself, has your county taxes gone down? The past administrations have continued to overassess these industries, hoping that it would never be challenged. Every local industry now are suing us for lower assessments. Look to the city of Oswego that has had an EDZ for a few years. They have had property taxes increases right along. Even in the sales tax, they haven't been able to keep the budget under control. One only has to look at the current listings of county residents not able to pay their tax on time. Sure, they might have benefit from an EDZ, but how do they pay their daily living expenses on a minimum paying job? No wonder the county welfare budget is so high and climbing. Most recent example of the residents not benefiting from incentive packages is the Sykes project. $60 million going to the IDA instead of local and county government funds to maintain the operating costs and running of the communities. You can listen to promoters and backers of these IDAs and EDZs, for they will tell you the good, but not the negative side of offering all these incentives. These incentive packages favor large employers over small businesses, and that deals to lure one company shortchange others that got where they are by their own enterprise. Jobs are a golden comedy in current politics, but announcements and ribbon cuttings that earn votes today may produce headaches tomorrow. For us, the time is here. As companies fail to deliver and require continued public support, it's better to cut back on these incentive packages of dubious value. These programs actually work against the best economical development incentives there is. That is to promote self-supporting industries by offering fair and adequate assessments, a good workforce, good schools, a reliable transportation network, and rational regulatory policies to draw the good industries to our area. As far as the application for Fulton EDZ, what a promotion that was. At a recent meeting with the state EDZ officials, a question was asked by the Reynolds Menlo representative for Virginia, how long would the process take if a local law was passed? Mr. Frank L. Canali, director of the EDZ program from Albany, stated only a local law would be needed if the boundaries are the same, because the Miller and Reynolds property was never removed from the original application when Fulton applied for the EDZ status this past spring. So all this hype from local promoters telling how a certain person volunteered to fly a new application to Albany must have been quite an eagle-eyed. There's a lot of instances in down in Oswego, the hammer mill thing, they started getting out EDZs with low-cost loans, and now we're supplying them grants to develop new products. And people that I've talked to are asking, when are we going to start taking hard looks at this and try to cut back? It's easy to say, well, it's in progress, it's in, take it. But everybody keeps saying that, and everybody wonders when they lose a good job and the jobs go down to smaller paying jobs, why they have to also apply for welfare to help them out. Most of your local people don't really benefit from these. We asked every industry at that meeting to give us a letter on how these are going to help them. As much as I know, I haven't seen no letter from anybody, and I think Reynolds is one that wanted it the most. And one of the reasons was transportation costs. But if I'm an owner in a company that needs aluminum cans, and I don't buy all my cans from Reynolds Metal, then I have to pay the transportation costs. So where is the cost to Reynolds Metals that they're talking about? We didn't find out who the customers are. How much of this benefit that they're getting is really expense up above operating at some other location. All these questions should be answered, and citizens would like to know, but we can never get no answers. But people are there to take the money, and this is the way I feel about it, and that's all I have to say. Anybody got any questions?
Well, one thing I'll address, Bill, that was addressed before, you said something about the cost of transporting cans, that they don't have to bear that. Well, they certainly do, because it puts them in an uncompetitive situation if their costs are higher because of the transporting of those cans. So
yeah, but if the ones that are buying the cans, if they're the sole supplier for them, the customer pays for the product.
Right, but they may not be the sole supplier if their costs are too high. It's economic sense. I mean, you go somewhere else if you don't want to pay those shipping costs. You go where they're cheaper or where they're not existing.
It's not a good idea. It's about time that people realize this. Some people have to take, we're going to have to take a stand sometime for these people that keep losing these jobs. And, I just don't believe in it.
Bill, theoretically, I probably can agree with you, and I wish that there was an economic zone for the entire state, and I wish we were able to do this and divide all of our monies equally and equitably. But that isn't the way the game is played. Right at the present moment, you and I and the rest of the board members are living in the town of Volney, Oswego County, and my goal is to enhance this particular area if I can. And I don't see this, we're helping this area. I don't see we're helping ourselves or our neighbors. I don't see that we're helping our tax base by encouraging industry to go somewhere else. It doesn't make sense to me, Bill. We're bringing in industry by having an EDZ. We're bringing jobs in. If you want to call it corporate welfare, that's fine. I guess that I have to accept your term, but I just can't understand why we would go against an EDZ bringing jobs and money into this community. It doesn't make sense. It didn't before, and it sure doesn't now.
Well, one thing that I said about the fair and equal assessments, if we offered equal updated assessments where they don't have to pay more than they should, we should be able to get self-supporting industries in here. Right now, in some of our meetings, the discussion has come up with the millers suing us for for over-assessment for the last 15 years with the deals that have been made. We might be in a position where the county, the school board, the school district, the town of Volney is going to have to, if we lose a court case, that we'll have to make a $5 million back payment in over taxes. Is this fair? What you give in one hand, they're there to take away in the other hand. If they want to help our EDZ, then they ought to pay their fair share of the assessments. And they're not. When they turn around, they sue you for it. And it's going to be an expense to the residents to fight these court cases.
Because they've been over-assessed, Bill?
Yes.
I don't understand what I don't understand what you just said.
You said back at the meeting that when they brought that up about the millers.
I know they can, but what I don't understand, Bill, is I thought you were saying, gee, we ought to lower taxes to encourage industry. Now all of a sudden they're suing us to lower taxes, and you're not paying their fair share.
Lower assessments. You give them adequate, fair assessments and not over-assessing, which we have been doing in the past.
I still don't see what it has to do with EDC.
As far as Bill's point about zones, I can see where he's coming from, that you can be helping one person to the detriment of someone else. If given the choice between the zones program that currently exists and having the opportunity to change some of the tax law that was changed in a very adverse direction in 1986 that took away tax investment credits for businesses, that helped businesses the size of Reynolds, and they also helped Joe Blow, who had a little business that only brought in $1,000 a year. It helped everyone. And they also screwed around with the depreciation rates and made it less reasonable to invest in new equipment and new buildings because it takes so much longer to write off your investment. And they also messed around with capital gains. And every time that they have fooled around with these parts of the tax law, they cause a recession. And then after a while, some genius wakes up down in Washington and says, oh my God, you know, back when they had investment credits, shorter depreciation times, and a more favorable capital gains treatment, things went better. And they all look at each other and, oh gee, that was true, things were better then. They change it, but then they get amnesia after a while when things are running smooth and think they can take it away and get more tax money. I would prefer that these zone things were not, this seems to have been the thing the state and the federal have both gone to, instead of just revamping their tax schedule and helping everyone. But it's what we have available now. Some of the real negatives to what happens to an area
isn't so much the zone itself, it's what the local community does about the spending. If they're getting a little mini boom of things going on, if they immediately match it with the same amount of spending or more, then you're not going to see any tax relief, you're going to see your taxes go up. And I'm not going to defend the IDAs. I think there's a lot of things they could have done in a lot smarter way. I think some of the people have been on there too long, and maybe we need to get rid of a few cobwebs and get a little fresh blood in there. But those things I don't have any control over, and this is something that would help the industry in our town. Given a choice, I would fix the federal and state taxes and make it so that everybody spends smarter and straighten out the IDA, but I don't have those choices. But we can do something to help the industry in our town, and I'd like to see us do it tonight.
I'll give the public a chance in the midterm. I gotta say, I've said a lot of things you were saying, Bill, before, and I still stand by a lot of what I said. Philosophically, I still don't agree with the EZ concept, but, back in February, we were facing a pretty traumatic situation when we all came into office this year with the loss of an industry and the loss of a mall through annexation, possibly, things like that. And we're pretty upset about a lot of things, and then this came along, and it was a kind of a rush thing. We knew about it 1 week, and another week we had to vote, and then we had to vote again 2 weeks later, and things just weren't going very smoothly then, and we did what we did back then for the reasons at the time. Now we've looked at this a little closer, and I still have some problems with it. I don't think it's, I wish it had some more controls. I don't like the fact that someone can open a business next door to another business that's already existing and get an EDZ, and the one next door doesn't benefit, and they can be on an unlevel playing field as far as competition. Just for example, with Eugene, if someone wanted to open up heating and air conditioning next to you and start from scratch, and they were eligible for those benefits because they're new, that would be tough for you to compete with them. You wouldn't qualify unless you're going to invest in new equipment, new employees, things like that. So those are some of the things I have a problem with EDZ for, and it could happen to any of us that are in business. But by the same token, I'm concerned about the impact of our area with the economy the way it is and the job situation and so on. And Reynolds has expressed to us that they have some problems and concerns with competing and so on. And we recognize that and appreciate it, and we do want them to be a part of our community and don't want anything to happen to them. So we've looked at a lot of different things lately, and I think that right now it is appropriate to reconsider, our action on EDZ. Anyone else on the board have any other comments?
No, Howard, the only thing I got is, we have against us other states enticing industry to come down there. The state is for it. Our state is not helping the localities, the small places, try to keep industry by enticing them here. They haven't done this, so we're the ones that have got to give up a little bit to keep our industry. I'm like Bill, I'm really not happy, but I don't want to lose the industry and the jobs we have or compete and save. And after that meeting with the state, they brought a lot more light on this.
Any comments or questions from the public? Charlie?
I would like to say that I think, under the circumstances, the board was correct in voting it down in the past. We were not brought into it properly. We were notified at the last moment. They attempted to railroad us rather than enlisting our support. However, it is given the opportunity now for the board to sit down with all of the industry in our town to work out some differences. I think some good has probably come of it, and I think it is time for us now to reconsider and to support the EDZ and to give the industry the help that it needs, knowing that it is coming with our approval, our support, and our help, not from some outside source.
Anyone else? Gene?
I just think it's the best chance we have of going up that empty building over there and protect the tax base for the people of Volney. That's all we should be concerned about.
Thank you. Anyone else? Barb, will you poll the council?
Counselor Pierce.
No.
Counselor Ridgeway.
Aye.
Counselor Smart.
Aye.
Counselor Warner.
Aye.
Supervisor Rose.
Aye. Next resolution, 94-186. Would someone like to move that, please?
Move to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Niagara Mohawk to convert all town street lighting from mercury vapor to high-pressure sodium at a projected annual savings of $500 without lowering the current level of illumination provided. In addition, a new street light is requested to be installed at the intersection of Route 3 and Baldwin Road at an anticipated cost of approximately $131 per year in energy costs. With the addition of the new light and the high-pressure sodium conversion, the town of Volney will still realize an estimated annual savings of $369.
I'll second that.
Discussion by the board.
Well, the only thing I know, Howard, we do have some are sodium vapors, but if the rest are changed out,
Right, they know that there are a couple of them that are already changed to sodium vapor, or high-pressure sodium. Those won't be touched.
not to do it, I would still like to have them address a couple of concerns where they redone that Shalom Drive out on the 481. The light is doing no good at the intersection where it is now.
Shalom Drive and 481?
You look and see where they put it after they redone the intersection. It's doing no good on the intersection.
Is it right at where Shalom Drive comes into 481, or where's the light now?
It's way back away from,
Oh, it is, so it's not even at the intersection
it's not
anymore?
even near the intersection.
Okay. Well, we can check on that, or I'll check on that when we forward this to Niagara Mohawk. So we'll do that. Also, even though we didn't budget for this one street light, there is enough money in our account to cover the cost of street lighting if they do happen to get it in before the end of the year, which I don't know if they will or not. But even if they do, it's only going to be probably $30, $40 for the rest of the year. So that shouldn't be a problem. Any other comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Okay. Barbie, poll the council.
Counselor Pierce.
Aye.
Mr. Ridgeway.
Aye.
Mr. Smart.
Aye.
Counselor Warner.
Aye.
Supervisor Rose.
Aye. Resolution 94-187. Whereas Article 12B, Section 239M of the New York State General Municipal Law, as amended effective July 1st, 1994, allows the county planning agency and local municipalities to agree to exempt from mandated county review certain zoning and planning actions which are of local rather than inter-community or countywide concern. And whereas the County Planning Board has adopted a statement of policy as amended effective July 1994, which states what types of actions are deemed to involve impacts of county significance, and whereas in order to avoid any unnecessary delays in the local zoning and planning review process, it is desirable to eliminate full County Planning Board review of those actions which are not deemed to involve impacts of county significance. Now, therefore, the undersigned parties do hereby agree to the following procedure for 239 review in Oswego County. 1. All items are required by state law will continue to be, all items as required by state law will continue to be referred to the County Planning Board for review. 2, the Director of Planning and Community Development for Oswego County will conduct a preliminary review of all submittals to determine which proposed actions do not involve impacts of county significance as defined in the Oswego County Planning Board Statement of Policy. 3, any submittal which clearly does not involve any impacts of county significance will be promptly returned to the referring agency with a written confirmation that such action is not subject to County Planning Board review. And it's agreed to on such and such a day. Paul Vickery, Chairman, Edward Marks, Director of the County Planning Department, and Town Supervisor of the Town of Volney.
I'll move it.
Okay. So here's a second.
Second.
Discussion from the board?
When did we get this?
It just came today, and I talked to Ed Marks about it, and I didn't think anyone was going to object to this.
Right now, they only got major subdivision review in within 500 feet of a county road. And according to this, number 2 is they want a preliminary review of all submittals. So does that
all submittals that would have been submitted anyway. Right? I mean, it's not asking for more, it's asking for less.
But there's some,
See, right now, anything coming from the planning board that has to do with what? State and county highways has to go to county planning or subdivisions or zone changes, things like this.
Now, I'm not sure exactly what does go before,
There's quite a bit.
but this is supposed to streamline it so that there isn't so much that has to go before them, and it'll take less time to process some of these approvals. Is there enough concern where you want a table, Bill, or?
I'd like to check in this a little bit. There's not that many goes to the county right now?
Well, it's not like it has to be done today. I just thought it was timely. It came today. It looks like it's something we should do, and so I just thought I'd bring it up tonight and get on with it if it is something that everybody's agreeable to.
If Bill would rather look into it more, I have no objection.
Yeah, there's no urgency to pass this tonight, but, you know, I just thought that it,
At one time, they
no
wanted to
question.
have everything go to the county for review.
Mhm.
You know, and this is, I wonder if this is just a step toward it or what. So, just getting this today at this meeting is not time to even to research it any.
okay.
All right, move to table for
Okay.
further study.
Here, second?
Second.
Okay, Barb, poll the council.
Council Pierce,
All right?
Mr. Ridgway,
Aye.
Council Smart,
Aye.
Council Warner,
Aye.
Supervisor Rhodes.
Aye. Resolution 94-188. Move to accept a proposal from the City of Fulton for an agreement to board dogs from the city's Animal Control Department at the Volney Dog Kennel as follows. 1. The city and the town entered into an agreement whereby the town would provide their shelter to the city for an annual cost of $4,000. The city will provide food for its own animals. 2. The town would have preference in the use of the shelter. If the unlikely situation of the shelter became overcrowded occurs, then the city will make arrangements for their dogs until room becomes available to them again. The city picks up an average of 100 dogs per year. 3, it would be the responsibility of the Fulton Dog Control Officer to handle all of Fulton's animals. The town is responsible for boarding only. Dogs will be boarded and removed per the requirements of the Ag and Markets laws of the state of New York. 4, the city would provide all transportation for its dogs. 5, the city would be responsible for the euthanization and any medical expenses for the Fulton dogs. 6, the city will be allowed access to the Volney shelter for the purpose of placing or removal of its dogs. 7, the city would provide any and all required paperwork pertaining to the dogs placed in the shelter to the town. 8, this agreement becomes effective immediately upon the approval of both the town board and the City of Fulton Common Council. 9, this agreement is valid for 1 year from the date of approval with review for renewal from year to year. I'll move it.
We didn't have this on Tuesday.
I would second for discussion.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can discuss it. No, I realize you didn't have it on Tuesday, and I just threw it in here today because there is an urgency with the city to take care of their dogs.
Well, the thing is, we're in the middle of doing budget, and one of the things that we discuss is what we're going to do about dog control. I think it's premature to jump into this when we haven't really even looked at the whole thing with dog control and what we want to do about the department. And by the location of that kennel, it's very close to neighbors, and it's one thing to make it so that the neighbors have to put up with the noise of Volney's own dogs, and it's another thing to go into the dog boarding business when the location is not ideal. I really think we need to look into this more before we jump into anything.
I don't know. I listened to Jerry the other night, and I think Jerry's doing an exemplary job.
He is.
And I understand that Jerry is doing this for a very minimal amount of money. The problem is if we could find a way to take this $4,000 and add it to Jerry's salary so that he could utilize...
Well, the thing is...
may I finish, please?
Yeah,
And then
go
I'll...
ahead.
The problem is we need to do something because we're getting a service. Having been in charge of dogs in this community numerous times in the past, I know every one of the problems we run into with dogs. I think Jerry's doing an outstanding job there. And if we could be sure that this money would go to him, and I would certainly support it 100%. I guess one question I would have is, I'm not sure until January 1 that we could modify the salary that was published for our dog control officer. In fact, I don't think we can raise the salary above the published fee. So I don't know if this would do us any good until the first of the year.
Right.
I guess would be my concern, so.
Well, the urgency isn't so much in getting Jerry money as it is helping out the city with a problem they have.
They could board him out someplace else.
Well, they're doing that now, but they're having trouble finding a decent facility. As you know, there aren't too many places in the county that have very good dog control facilities, and that's part of the problem. We're fortunate to have something
This is a
decent.
major problem, certainly, that we had for years.
Right.
And,
Well, maybe they just need to build their own kennel.
well, Claudia, if we could accommodate something like, in that situation, I would have no problem accommodating the city in an issue like this, especially if it's to our benefit, and I would see this
Well,
as being to our benefit.
You know, whether or not Jerry deserves a raise, I think is a separate issue. And whether or not it would make more trips to the kennel, it would certainly entail more work. If you got extra kennels to clean out. And like right now, I mean, he's getting to have a break, and we obviously don't expect a refund from those days that he doesn't have to go over there and work his head off.
But he pays the
If
person
we
that
are
does it.
taking, no, because there's no dogs. If you're taking in dogs from other places, there's more chance that he would have to run over there when he would have had an opportunity to take a break.
I had 4 calls yesterday that on my own time, I put the gutters up, cleaned the gutters.
Did little like, put the back door and brace that, and like that, put the plywood up. I did not get the letter myself,
Yeah.
I had, like I mentioned it to you Tuesday night, and I did not get a letter myself till last night. If I did, I would have given it to everybody plenty of time to discuss.
Well, you know,
Like I said, it's a 7-day operation, and every time I'm gone, I pay somebody out of my pocket. I'm there twice a day, 7 days a week, on call.
well, I consider
You know what I'm saying?
your, whether or not we do
Yeah.
this and whether or not you deserve a raise to be 2 separate issues.
I've had 2 days so far since I've taken over the house. I know by the weekend, if I plan on something, there's gonna be dogs to be put in, so, if I go hunting, which I hope to do, I'll be paying somebody to do it.
Jerry's the one that brought this before us. If he didn't have a concern, we shouldn't have a concern, because he's willing to do that and help out the city and also further our own program.
I live around the road from Dale Earl, and he says they got an awful problem there. He said, I propose it to the town, and that's what I did. So last night, I did not have a letter. If I did, or any of the proposals, I would have got it to you before that. Like you, I was asked to bring it up to the town, which I did at the meeting, even though it was a regular meeting. I mean,
I'm very uncomfortable getting involved in something that is a year duration when we get it at the meeting. You know, I really think we should address this in the budget process.
like I said, my desk brought it up, and if I had the letter the other night, I would give it to you in for a week or so.
Yeah, and whether or not you deserve a raise.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll admit it, you do.
But I mean, I have no qualms in waiting, to the budget meeting, I think it's about the 25th or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure, there's nothing to be committed before that.
Any other comments or discussion from the board?
I just didn't know how urgent this was with the city, just another month after we talked to them.
Well, my understanding is they're really concerned about the winter months when it's really cold out and they don't have a decent shelter for the dogs, and that's coming on very fast. I see this also as an opportunity to show that we can work with the city of Fulton despite our differences on other issues. And we talked about this earlier this year. This isn't the first time it came up. I brought this up in January when I first took office, and we kind of tabled it then.
Well, if there's a way to cooperate with somebody, I would rather it be a way that doesn't increase the amount of dog feces in town.
Well, okay, I'm going to... Go ahead, Jim, if you have some more things to say.
No, let some
Okay.
people out there speak.
Okay. Charlie, you had your hand up first back there.
I'm opposed at this time. We have a limited amount of space available at the kennel. We may have been fortunate in recent time. We are in the middle, we're at the very dawn of a rabies epidemic in this county. We don't know what requirements will be coming down upon us in the handling of dogs, the detaining of dogs in times to come. It depends on what Ag and Markets decides to tell us we have to do. As I said, space is limited. There have been times when that kennel has been full. And if it's already full and then we have to pick up another dog or another 2 or 3 dogs, then we have to say, hey, Fulton, come down and take 3 dogs out of here, and you go take them somewhere else. This is not a large-scale operation. This is not a huge kennel. And I don't think that we should be taking on the responsibilities of another community in addition to our own. I don't think this is a good move at all.
Well, Jerry didn't feel that was a problem. That's the way I understood
He
it.
is the dog control
Right,
officer.
he's experienced what was going on.
The decision is the town, and the situation as it is now may not be what it is in the future.
I realize that, but I'm just saying, based on the last 5 years I've been on this board and witnessed what goes on over there and what Jerry has told me from this past year, he feels he can handle this. And I'm just going to go on what Jerry's telling me because I don't know all the details.
My opinion as a member of the
And you're welcome to that, sure. Marie.
I just have a question. Obviously, you people were privy to some information that Jerry presented to you on Tuesday night. That's a meeting that most of the people weren't here. I would just like to hear what his comments are, and what does he say about this? The city of Fulton has approached you, apparently, and does he want to do this? Is this something that he's interested in doing, or is it feasible? Or I'd like to hear the discussion on the options here.
Jerry brought it to us to put on the agenda for tonight. That's what our work session is on Tuesdays, to set an agenda, and that was something he wanted to see on the agenda. He said the city had talked to him about it, and he wanted to talk to us about it and see if we would do that. And Tuesday night we said we would think about it, but we wanted to talk about it later in budget time, maybe, things like that. Then I got a call from Dale Earl the next day asking if we'd done anything on it, and I said no, the board hasn't made any decisions on that yet. And I suggested to him that he should put something down on paper that we can look at to see what they wanted to propose to us, because we really had nothing to go by that the city was offering us for it. So he did that. He brought the letter to Jerry and myself, and I don't know who else, Wednesday evening late, and I just took it upon myself.
What is Jerry's opinion? Did he say to you that he wants to do it?
Well, Jerry...
Well,
what does Jerry... Yeah.
Sure, go ahead, Jerry.
2 things. It's for the welfare of the animals is one thing. I know their conditions, I heard, isn't the best of all. And they're definitely looking for a place to store it for their animals. And they said right now they got problems. I guess I had a couple of dogs escaping and other things. But right now they cannot find another place, I guess. Their contract runs out at the end of January, or 1st of January, and they're looking for it. And I'm looking for, I'll be honest with you, if I can get a little more revenue, I can get an assistant in there, so my job isn't 7 days a week.
So the city of Fulton's going to pay you how much?
$4,000 a year.
$4,000 yearly?
Correct.
Yeah, and we would have extra costs because of the extra cost of the hot water and stuff to clean out the extra kennels, and also what has happened in other counties as rabies has gone into them is all of a sudden you'll get an edict from the county that they now have to pick up cats also, and so we would need more facilities to pick up the animals that the town would be required to pick up. That's why there's too many aspects of this. Whether or not Jerry's working too many hours for too little money, I think that if you talk to any dog control officer we've had in the past 10 years, they'll all agree that dog control is underpaid. And
I agree with Jim. I know it was to chair that committee, and it's horrendous. And every month, I'm so impressed by what this man has to say, how we're not euthanizing dogs, that he's adopting them out. Obviously, he's got a channel that no other dog catcher that I've seen in this town has, that he can adopt dogs out the way he has been. And I would think that if he's made a request, if he's willing to take on the work, and, if he's going to give the town some revenue, because I know how when we first put that dog kennel up, we talked about putting extra stalls in there in case another municipality wanted to come to the town, and then we could help make some revenue that way. I know that we were stuck with just having dogs in dog houses, and we were looking at other municipalities for help too, and we were at a dilemma where we couldn't do anything. We had to build a kennel. Maybe you could do this maybe on a temporary service that you could just help them out for this time. As far as the city dog, country dog, I think that there's people dropping dogs out here anyways, and I'm not going to know if it's a city or country bark over there. But I do think that if there's a way that you can help with the salary without raising the taxes, and this is a way of doing it, I think that you ought to look into it. I think it's a good shake-off. And I think you should do everything you can to keep this man, because he's doing an outstanding job.
I agree, and that is part of the reason I wanted to bring this forward tonight.
the amount Fulton actually offering is pretty huge, because the amount that you generally get for boarding a dog is at least $5 a day.
Well, this is $8 a day.
$5 a day for 365 days is $1,825. This is $4,000.
You don't base it on days, you base it on dogs, Claudia. I mean, if they only bring in 2 dogs in a given year, you can't go on days.
What I'm saying is if you had 1 dog in there all the time for the whole year, it would be $1,825. This is not a lot of money.
Well, we're basing it on an average of 100 dogs per year. At $4,000, that's $40 a dog, right?
It isn't that much money for the amount of work it's going to be. There would be extra utility costs for us. Other supplies would be used up. I really, and I'm very concerned about what extra responsibilities we may have as a town because of the rabies problem, and it is getting worse.
See, I could see modifying or coming in with a statement that in the event that the county came out with the handling of cats or something, that this agreement might be avoided or brought to a rapid conclusion 1 year, or if we had other stipulations put upon us. But
I don't have a problem with that.
this is a good working document from my point of view.
This is something we're obligating ourselves to for a full year, and this was not given to us at the work session. We didn't even know it was here until we opened up the folder tonight.
We didn't have it at the work session, Claudia.
Yeah, well, what's the rush?
There may not be a rush, I don't know.
Until January 1st. I don't see why we can't review this through the budget process like we agreed to do on Tuesday.
First of all, you said they had a contract till the end of the year already, so they won't be needing our services till January 1, is that correct?
Or will they break it?
As far as I know, they said immediately, if possible, and they just paid the other contract off without use.
Yeah, I think what it is, and maybe John or Jim might want to speak to this, but I think they're desperate to get a decent facility, and they don't have one, and they're more concerned with the animals than they are anything else.
If they're concerned about the welfare of the animals in that city, I'm sure they could afford to get an empty building or something and supply the dog catcher a place to put it. To put our residents, even one resident complains about a barking dog. I know the last 3-4 years sitting out there, I think we've had problems with barking dogs, and I could always justify it by the dogs were from our community. But how do you justify the neighbors that you got a barking dog over there that's not from your own village, your own town, is what my problem is.
Well, I'm sure you could find a way to justify it if you wanted to.
I'm sure that they probably even pay their dog catcher more than we pay ours. And if they can pay their dog catcher more than we pay for ours, then they ought to be able to build a place in the city to do the normal city function without going to another community.
We had figured when we checked the number of hours that dog control worked, that half the job was picking up the dogs and the other half was taking care of them once they were there. I'm sure they pay Dale Earl more than $4,000 a year. So I don't see, if they're going to pay him that much, they can afford to pay him more for boarding dogs at a local kennel if they had to, and we can go through our normal budget process.
Okay. Colleen?
When the town of Volney needed a new dog kennel, then our town board at the time got together and they built a new dog kennel. We didn't go to Fulton or to Palermo or Granby or whatever. I don't understand the problem here.
Well, if you followed what happened here 4 years ago, I went to a 2-year struggle to get a kennel here for this town.
What I'm saying is, we built our own things. I don't know why Fulton doesn't build their own dog kennel. I don't understand why we should have Fulton bring their dogs out here. Those dogs are loud when they're there, and I think Jerry does a wonderful job, and he's a good dog warden. But I don't think we need Fulton's dogs out here. They can build their own kennel. They're a city. I don't understand, I don't understand the reasoning behind this or why we should consider it. It's Volney's dog kennel. It's not Fulton. I don't understand why they don't build their own. Jerry's doing a good job. He's fixing things up and everything, and I don't understand the reasoning.
And it was Jerry's request too, Colleen.
Well,
So we're not putting anything on Jerry that he isn't asking for either.
I didn't say that. I just said it.
Okay.
We have our own
Christine?
dog.
When I spoke to him Tuesday, he also is not against just a straight raise.
Well, I understand that,
I just want to say that I don't think Jerry, as good a dog catcher as he might be, knows if the dog was originally or originated in the town of Volney when he picked it up. I don't think the animals know the borders. I'm sure we get Fulton dogs into Volney. I'm sure Volney dogs go into Fulton. I'm sure we get Palermo. I'm sure we get the whole area. So I think there's a different reason behind this. We don't want Fulton dogs.
Okay. Fern?
My comment would be, I sat here and heard people complaining around where the kennel is located about the horrendous noise when the kennel was full. And I have sympathy for the dogs because I like animals and I don't want to see any of them not have the best that they can get. But and there's too many people that don't use good common sense when they have an animal themselves. If they're not ready to take care of a litter of puppies or kittens, then I think that they should think about that and have something done. I would say that if it can be worked out until they, on a timely thing, until they could have something more feasible for themselves in town, then I think it should be. But I think we do need to consider the neighbors around, because at times when it's been full of our own dogs, as it were, wherever they've wandered from, there have been a lot of complaints. I haven't heard them lately, so apparently whoever's over there is doing a good job of keeping them happy. But that would be my main concern, is our own neighbors here.
Okay, Charlie.
I think there's several shortcomings, and unlike you, Howard, I'm not anxious to show and prove that we can cooperate with the city of Fulton. Until the city of Fulton shows that they're anxious and able to cooperate with us and not try to take advantage of us, I don't see any reason for us to pursue methods to cooperate with them.
Any other comments? Thelma?
Yeah, Howard, I think that the city of Fulton actually is serving us a very nice compliment. I think we do have a very good dog warden. I think we have a nice kennel. I think he does an exemplary job with all of the animals he takes in. And I think maybe Fulton's trying to tell us that, yeah, we are doing something right and they would like our assistance with their dogs. And if Jerry's willing to take it on, I don't see what the big problem is.
Anybody else?
I think they're looking for a partner.
Well, I have a motion on the floor. Does someone want to second it?
I certainly will, yes. My concern, though, Howard, is we need some kind of an out with the rabies cat situation. That's the only concern I have.
I was looking, the cat's getting in.
I think it's unlikely that's going to happen, but if you want it in there, I don't have a problem putting it in there.
That's the only concern that I would have. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that would be my only reservation.
I really don't understand the rush to do this now. We've got all these special meetings this month. We can consider this later.
Could I ask Jim or John what the urgency is of this with the city? Is it something you need right away, or is this something before the real cold weather hits in January would be appropriate, or what is your feeling?
Howard, I can only say that I've laid eyes on this for the first time, so I haven't really researched it. But I can tell you that our contracted facility is wholly inadequate, and I do anticipate the winter time it will be a burden upon our contracted service. So, however, I might add that this is only a working document.
Right. The city has to approve this as well. They may not even approve it.
Well, why do we need to rush? Why can't we look at it calmly at the budget meetings?
I don't have a problem with that. I'm not trying to push this through for any other reason that I want to help the dogs.
My only concern is it's getting late in the season. We've been approached. I think Jerry's brought a valid concern, and if we can do it at one of the budget meetings, I don't have a problem. But I don't think that we want to keep postponing and putting on a back burner.
Postponing, we haven't even had it 3 hours.
Well...
Okay, what I'd like to ask to do then, if possible, could one of you go back to your council and maybe present your own resolution and get that passed, so that our next meeting, we might be able to consider your resolution. If, pardon me? No, I know, I'm asking them something else too.
Sure.
And then we can address it at our next meeting. If we can, another month, the weather's not gonna be that much worse, so where these dogs are gonna suffer greatly for it, and we can deal with it then. Yeah, the motion's on the floor, so we'll take a vote on it, but,
Perhaps I would move to table until the November board meeting, at which time we should have a joint resolution made with Fulton, so we know what we're doing.
Jim is rescinding his second. You can do that, right?
I'm withdrawing my second. No, I'm moving to table, even though
Okay.
I'm second. I can move to table.
Okay,
Moving to table, I need a second to table.
I'll second it.
okay. Barbara, you poll the council.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. So if you could do that, if you'd like a copy of this resolution that I propose tonight to work from, you're welcome to copy of that, and, let us know. New business. The only new business I have is a petition of an order to show cause we received today from Dennis Hawthorne concerning the situation with Thelma Tormino a few weeks ago. I'm not going to comment on this because we haven't even really had a chance to review it, and we haven't talked about it with our attorney, but I do want to comment on this, an article that was in the paper concerning the situation in the Valley News. And the first comment I want to make about it is, these are quotes by Dennis Hawthorne Sr., and I'll add senior, not junior. I call it the Howard Rose Purge. Now, some of you may not know what a purge is, but Dennis Hawthorne knows what a purge is very well, because he attempted one here a few years ago that he succeeded at, and that was the infamous Hawthorne papers that were made up to help sway an election to a particular candidate in a party. And he succeeded, and he also succeeded in getting his law firm as the law firm representing this town. So Dennis knows what a purge is, if no one else out there does. The other thing that bothers me about his comments here, and I think this should bother Thelma as well, he goes on to say, I think this whole thing is a personality conflict between my client and Cindy Tolbert and Marie Austin. Hawthorne concluded Tuesday morning, they are three very volatile personalities. Now, volatile in the dictionary, changeable, fickle, inconstant, capricious, unreliable, ruled by whims. I think I'd be outraged if I were Thelma, let alone Marie or Cindy. But this is the reason there's attorney jokes. That's all I have to say about that. Petitions. Any petitions?
Mr. Rose, I would like to say that was very inappropriate.
I don't think so, Thelma.
Well, I do. I don't think that was very professional at all, which is exactly what you're accusing me of not being, was very unprofessional. And I don't think that was professional at all. It wasn't an attorney joke. You were taking quotes directly from a paper. You do not know what Mr. Hawthorne was alluding to in that quote whatsoever. And I seriously doubt that he meant that Marie Austin or Cindy Tolbert or myself were fickle or unable to make decisions. I think he meant that we were very dynamic personalities who, when we get together, we are all very opinionated and we sometimes collide.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gwen's sitting right in front of you. I don't know if she wants to say whether she misquoted him or not, but I doubt if she did.
I didn't say she did.
Well, then if she didn't, he said volatile and he said purge. And I commented on it.
Could we go to new business for a minute? Or?
New business? Sure.
On this corner at County Route 6 and Route 3, is there any way we can get a resolution or something to the state or the county to do a traffic study to see what we can do at the intersection? We've had school bus accidents. We had one a couple of weeks ago with a tractor trailer trying to get time to get across the intersection before it got hit by another car. It's 40 miles an hour through there. Before somebody gets killed over there, I think something ought to be looked into, and if they got suggestions on how to control that intersection. It's a blind intersection. It's hard to see somebody coming over the hill. And I don't know if we address it with a resolution or what.
You want to contact the DOT about looking into what they can do to improve the situation?
The state highway or the state and the county both is county highway and a state highway. One of these days, we're gonna have a real bad accident over
Yeah, I
there.
agree, it is bad. If you want to get something together for our next meeting, I don't know if, it's kind of late to prepare something right now, but I think that's a good idea.
Because you gotta have the paperwork to turn into the county, and then they turn it into the state, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So if you want to do that, Bill, I think it's a good idea. We'll
Yeah,
get it together.
that's definitely a dangerous intersection.
But I think
Okay.
we as a board could ask for a traffic study.
Right. So that's what I mean, we need to get something together to send off to them. Yeah.
And it wouldn't have to necessarily be next month's board meeting. We have some special meetings if he has it ready. We could always vote on it then.
I don't know that our budget, if you're referring to our budget special
No, we
meetings,
have to have a special meeting the 25th
25th.
which one was that for?
to vote on annexation.
Oh, are you sure that's a date that we've got set? I'm not familiar with that one yet.
When I spoke to the lawyer today, he thought he had that date confirmed with you. Maybe it isn't yet.
No, I didn't realize that was a date that he was talking about.
But I mean, sometime before the end of this
Okay.
month, we have to.
Yeah, we'll probably have a special meeting in there. Okay, we can do that. Any other new business?
No.
Okay, petitions? Any petitions? No petitions? Okay. I'm going to open the floor to public comment at this time, on anything of your choice. Colleen?
I always have something to say, Howard. I just wanted to ask about something.
I just had something I wanted to ask about. It's something I came across this week. And this is from the Economic Development Zone application. I just want to read like 2 sentences, so it's not any long. This is from section 4, page 20. It says business startups. The Fulton CDA has launched a pilot program to provide entrepreneurial training and microloan financing citywide. The city received $100,000 in CDBG funds and $25,000 in NBI funds to provide small loans for startup and sole proprietor businesses. Now, I became aware of a businessman in Volney, and it's not any relative of mine or anything, it's just someone that I know, who went down to the CDA to ask for money to help his business, to make it better. And he was told that unless he wanted to move his business into the city of Fulton, he couldn't get any money. So I started to investigate this a little bit because this is part of a thing that was sent to New York State to get their economic development zone. So I called the CDA, and I was told that they didn't get the money. And I said, you didn't get the money. Why did you put it in here? And anybody can read this, or you can look in the economic development zone application if you want. And they said, well, we thought we were going to get the money. In case everyone isn't aware what the NBI is, it's the Neighborhood-Based Initiative. Now they call it the Neighborhood-Based Alliance, I guess. So I called another source, and they just said, well, if the CDA said we didn't get it, then we didn't get it. But I still didn't get an answer. So I called Jeanette Provost, who's the deputy director of the NBI in Albany, and she told me that the person I needed to talk to was Regina Lowe Hall, who's the project officer for the NBI for our area. She's located in Syracuse. And she's looking into it, and she's going to let me know, because either they got the money and they're saying they didn't, or they didn't get the money and they told lies in the economic development zone application, one way or the other. One of the comments that I was told by someone was, haven't you ever made a mistake? Well, this is not a mistake. This is a bold-faced lie, apparently. I mean, I don't know, but it doesn't make sense to me. So if they got $25,000 from the NBI, that's for Volney, Fulton, and Granton. So I really wish that someone on the town board could also look into this, because if they did get that money, then businesses in Volney should be allowed to borrow money for their businesses, and they shouldn't have to be told that if they want to borrow the money, they have to move into the city. I don't think we've ever done that to anyone in Fulton. I mean, I realize we don't have a community development agency. I think maybe that's something that we should look into in the near future. There want to be so many problems and so many misunderstandings. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention because I didn't think it was a good thing. Because, I mean, this is saying the city received. So I just thought I'd bring it up. Thank you.
If you want to leave it with me, I will check it out and find out what it's really all about. So I don't
Well,
really know the details of that.
Regina Lowe is looking into it, and I'm going to be faxing her the couple of pages out of the Economic Development Zone application so that she can really look at it, because one way or another we need an answer, and I don't think this is right at all.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public comment? Kevin?
Regarding the four corners here on County Route 386, the state office building in Syracuse, I think it's on the third or fourth floor, they have a traffic planning department. If somebody wanted to go to the planning department, I can probably find out the name of the gentleman, but you can meet with a gentleman there, and they can draw from their files recent traffic surveys that they've done when you see the hoses across the road and stuff, and they can probably go back to the last time they had one here, give you an average traffic count, how many cars per hour drive through the intersection going either way, and then they could probably, in a relatively short period of time, also determine recent reported accidents in the area. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it's probably in a matter of an hour or so, they can tell you whether there's any chance you're going to see a traffic light there or not, which might save the board putting together the time to put together a resolution, submit it, wait 3 or 4 months for a response. I've had to do it in the past, and sometimes you'll know, they can tell you pretty much whether there's any chance of seeing a traffic light or not. They base it purely on statistics.
I appreciate it if you could give me the name.
Right there.
If you can give me the name, I'd appreciate it, Kevin.
Okay, I can try to do that.
Thank you.
Remembers name, Colleen?
Does Colleen know?
Billy works for the DOT.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Alan?
What was that you held up there from Mr. Hawthorne?
Oh, it was just a newspaper. Oh, the
No,
first thing? This is a order to show cause we were served with today.
Since this special board meeting was held on the 24th, has any further action been taken?
On the 24th. I'm trying to remember what happened on the 24th.
public hearing.
We had 2 public hearings.
Oh, okay, well, this was the one on the 24th. Is she still employed by the town?
No, on the October 1st, I think, we had a second meeting. And at that meeting, we voted to remove her for just cause. And that's what this is in response to.
So she has been removed?
Yes.
Okay, well, that takes about half of my comments away. I was just going to say that if what Marie Austin said at the hearing is true, then it would seem to me that you did the right thing. It seemed to me that anybody who works for the town of Volney, who is appointed by the board, serves at the pleasure of the board. Is that correct?
To a certain degree, yes.
If you hire them, then you can fire them?
Well, by law, that's what we're allowed to do, yes.
And now is this a suit?
Right, this is challenging what we did.
Is she just saying that what you did was wrong, or what you did was wrong and we have to give somebody money?
I haven't really reviewed it yet now, so I really can't comment on it.
Well, I think that you're reading from the newspaper and defining words that came out of other people's mouth was, I would not call that unprofessional. I didn't get up to comment because there was no under Robert's rules, we're not allowed to comment when you say things like that, so I won't pursue that anymore. My wife isn't here, as you can see, and I would ask, well, first I should say I'm glad we got this blacktopped over here in front of the town barn, town garage. Everything else in town of Volney's getting blacktopped. It's about time we took care of our own. And to get to the question my wife would ask, what's with the park?
Oh, you weren't here when we discussed
I mean
it.
our park.
Yeah, we discussed it.
I don't mean the county of Oswego's park. No, I wasn't here.
Okay.
I came late. I brought Chinese food. Been a busy night.
I announced earlier that the drainage has been completed, and it's fairly level over there. It's graded off and ready to move on to the next phase.
Did you get a chance to talk to Randy tonight, just before the meeting? He come in,
Yeah, it has it ready for the blacktop, you mean?
he says by tomorrow it will be ready because...
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it'll be ready tomorrow for blacktopping of the basketball courts, and we're hoping that Bob Kirking will find the time and material to take care of that before he closes out his season with blacktopping. So that'll be done, and then hopefully we can get some, what was that grass we were talking about putting in?
No,
Something that's common with the farmers that we might be able to get reasonable and just spread it across there, so maybe we'll get some seed and grass growing
And
by
the
spring.
baseball,
Right.
since there's a strike, there's no need to get the diamond in. But I hope that that's the first priority in the spring.
It will be.
Yeah, it was Randy's recommendation that we wait for doing the things about the bases till the spring and give it a chance to settle, because there may be some points that go lower and he'd have to put some fill in.
Well, rumor has it that we were offered a backstop by Miller. No?
I don't think so.
Rumor has it that they want us to have some recreational land down there by the...
Not aware of that either.
There's a lot of rumors.
There's two good rumors.
Yeah, two good ones. We'll check them out.
We'll take either one.
Well, I'll check them out. I'll be the rumor control officer. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Cindy?
Hi, I'm Cindy Gagne from Fulton, and back to the radioactive sludge issue that we all thought went away because it wasn't going into Bristol Hill. The word coming out of Minetto this week was that Minetto's still taking it, and that it's going to go back to the landfill. Apparently their elected officials are telling the citizens because it's clean. I talked to Mark today, Lichtenstein privately, and he said, well, maybe we will take it, but I think first we'll have to get some independent testing done. Well, it's real hard to find qualified independent persons to test the sludge consistently and read it to make sure that it's not radioactive all the time. And I think that the letter that you wrote to the DEC in June warrants looking into. I really think you need to demand an answer from the DEC on the issue of whether they're in violation of their the technical specifications of their operating license. Because that was never answered to you, but it was announced shortly after that the sludge had been cleaned for several months. I think that you need to get the shipments and the record of every shipment that went out and what the isotope level was in there. And I think that you also need to go back to the county, because apparently there are certain people in this county that think that it's okay that it comes back to Bristol Hill, you know, as long as it's clean. And I'm not comfortable with the testing that the county may or may not do. And I really thought there was a law that there would be no radioactivity going into the landfill. I don't know how clean is, but I did a little skit for them today explaining, you know, trust me, it's not radioactive anymore. You know, I did a little skit for them today with some sludge. I owned a company and we were putting some dust in that we shouldn't have been, but it is clean now. I told them to trust me because I do the testing and I report it. and I regulate it. And also the agency in Washington, I pay them too. So, trust me.
Any other comments? Marie?
Howard, I'm just concerned because Mark Lichtenstein stood right here in this room and he said unequivocally that he would shut the landfill doors if they were to bring that sludge in here. That's on tape. Maybe what the town board needs to do is bring that tape to the entire legislature at their next meeting and play that. And is he the spokesman for the county for, that management, or is he not? I think he needs to be held to his word.
I will call him.
Thank you.
Cindy?
One more thing. They had an open meeting in June where they brought Niagara Mohawk and NIPA. They brought the head of waste management for both Niagara Mohawk and NIPA to give a presentation on the sludge. And for any of you that were there, it was an evening meeting. They cut it off. Legislators could never finish answering questions. The citizens were never able to, and it was promised then that they would be brought back for another evening meeting to answer questions. And I think it's time, before they even try to slip this now new and improved clean sludge back into the landfill, that there be a meeting set up again with the county, and I think that the town board should request that. If they aren't going to have it at the county level, that they be brought here for some type of a hearing. And I think you need to really follow through, because the general feeling is out there is that as soon as you people turn your back, they may just slip it back in anyways, and who would know the difference? But I will tell you that they must be making runs every couple of weeks to Minetto, because the Matheson's trucks, septic trucks, are constantly going by my house. I see them all the time. One of these times I'm going to stop the driver and ask him, are you coming from Minetto or Volney? As soon as I can catch up with one of them.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Alan?
Well, this has raised some interesting questions here. The way that the town of Volney first became aware that this was happening was NIMO had to go to the state or to the NRC or to somebody to get some permits. Is that correct?
DEC.
To dump this?
DEC.
Pardon?
DEC.
DEC, okay. Are these permits good forever, or do they have to stipulate how many loads, or how much weight, or isn't that information available somewhere?
Is it operational for that?
In the permit they were applying for, they were estimating how much tonnage it would be.
Well, then, don't they have to get a little more specific whenever it really happens? Don't they say, like, don't they have to
We have
say...
a copy of that. You can read the whole permit if you'd like.
I don't want to turn this into a big debate, but,
I just don't remember the figures off the top of my head, but
we should be able to
more
get these
than-
answers without going out there with a Geiger counter, shouldn't we?
Chris, did you have something to
One
say?
of the things now, I might have missed it if I was here, but we were requesting the permit application through Freedom of Information, and the last we were told was because we, the county and the town of Volney refused to accept the radioactive sludge, that the permitting process had to begin all over again, and they had to find a new landfill, which we're not happy about because we don't want anybody to get it. But I'm wondering if anybody has reapplied for a permit, or if he has gone ahead and granted the permit.
We
Because
haven't heard
from what I
anything.
understand, I mean, Bristol Hill had to be named in the permit. The actual landfill had to
Right.
be named. So if they're going to be burying anything here, that's got to be in writing somewhere.
No, they decided they were going to be perfect from now
Yeah, but
on.
even
They were
so,
never
they
going to
still
make
had
any
to
more
do the permit.
mistakes.
They still have to,
That
they
was
still have to
the
go through the
solution.
permit process. They also said in 80 and 90 that they weren't ever going to consider accepting this stuff because of public perception, and they've been accepting it for 2 or 3 years. So we can't, I know what they say, but I'm just saying maybe we ought to request through Freedom of Information if they've reapplied for the permits, or if the permits continued and weren't stopped after all.
They don't need a permit if it's clean.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
the
how
point.
they're getting
I'm saying
around it.
It's never going to be dirty sludge again.
But
That
it
was
was
their solution.
Same stuff.
Yeah, it's the same stuff.
Getting it in the same place.
It's kind of like that 3-card Monte, where is
Well,
it?
if they're telling us that this is clean, then we should ask them, what are they doing with the dirty stuff that they used to get out of there? Because if it's the same stuff, then we're being lied to. And it would seem to me that if they are dumping stuff over there, that somebody on our end, not on the supply end, but on the receiving end ought to know about this, either Mark Litchison or who up there is in charge of making sure that nobody dumps radioactive waste at our sanitary landfill? Don't we have anybody? Does somebody liaise with them?
No, we all are, to a certain extent, whatever we can do. But I'll call Mark and find out what's going on, just to get it from him. Chris?
I just want to say one more thing. It has to do with the incinerator. Mark Lichtenstein and I believe Art Oswald have both gone on record in the press in the past saying once recycling got going, they'd shut the incinerator down one stack at a time. And I don't see that happening either.
How many stacks do they have?
4.
Oh, okay.
Any other public comment? Okay. Future meetings, October 18th and 20th, we're going to be starting our budget meetings. Our bill signing and agenda preparation, November 8th at 7 p.m., and our regular town board meeting, November 10th. There may be a special meeting in there somewhere, but I'm not sure of the date, so I don't want to announce it right now. One thing, the county solid waste meeting is the 25th also. I don't know if anyone wanted to attend that. It's over here at the Murph again.
The 18th?
18th and the 20th, Tuesday and Thursday.
I have another meeting on the 20th. It's 7:30.
We've only got so many days left to do it, Jim, and we're trying to pack them into a week from now.
I understand that, but when did you establish these?
Oh, you weren't at the last meeting, I'm sorry. The meeting that we had, that special meeting to pass out the tentative budget.
Okay, well, I didn't get those dates.
Okay, I'm sorry.
They weren't in the minutes.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, they weren't in the minutes?
They should have been.
I don't think they were in the minutes. If they were, I missed it.
Well, that was an oversight if they weren't, but we did.
I'm not going to say that they weren't, but I...
November 8th, we're going to have our work session.
Okay, so 18 is budget.
Oh, I'm sorry, too. We have to announce a public hearing date, too, for the budget. November 10th. So I need authorization from the board to advertise for the public hearing for the budget.
On what day?
November 10th, a regular town board meeting night, November 10th. That's when we always do it, at our November meeting. Okay, so let's add that to the list of resolutions, Barb, the next number in sequence. I'll move to advertise for the public hearing for the budget for November 10th at 7 p.m.
I'll second.
And Barb, poll the council.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, now we're still going to have our work session election day, right? November 8th.
Oh, that's right, it's election day, isn't it? Aye.
I don't know how we're going to get out of it. Unless you have it tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be crowded because she has to get the abstract ready and all these other
That's right.
things. And
We're in the other room anyways.
yeah.
We don't have anything special. Nobody's running right now.
No.
Everybody voted.
Yeah. Let's work on that. We'll talk about it and
We can always
we'll
change
announce
it.
it. Yeah. So let's scratch that for November 8th because we won't have it in that election day for sure. Okay. I didn't realize that was election day. One other thing that a resolution we need to make, and I just remembered, is to advertise for a position on the grievance board of review because the term has expired for one of the members and we need to advertise that again. Right, Board of Ethics. So I'll move that we advertise also to notice that in the paper. You hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Poll the council, by Claudia, second.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Oh, the budget meeting's at 7?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got them all set for 7.
Okay,
And the one on the 20th, we're having the firemen and the highwaymen there too.
I'm going to be awful tight, but I'll go from one meeting to another. I'll cut out early. You know that.
Okay. Jim?
Oh, move to adjourn. Second.
Barb, poll the council.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming.